Every year, thousands from across the globe flock to the picturesque setting along the Northern California coastline to see some of the most beautiful and nearly priceless automobiles ever created. 71 years of unmatched automotive excellence. Solely bearing witness to such an event can raise the hair follicles on even the greatest car skeptic. And for any car enthusiast, dreams of simply having the opportunity to partake in competition on the legendary 18th fairway is all a part of a life's pursuit. But for those actually competing, in their minds, winning best in class at such a grand event is the only option. But only one will win best of show. The most prestigious car event in the world. It's the one, the only, the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. Quite literally, on a global scale, today on this Sunday in August, all roads lead here to the Monterey Bay Peninsula for the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. 21 countries, 31 states, and over 200 cars are all gathered right behind me on that beautiful green fairway there. Why is that? Well, of course, it is to showcase their most amazing vehicles, which literally are a time machine from the beginning of the automotive industry. But it's also to try and win the competition. Yes, if you're very fortunate and you bought the right car on the right day, you could win your class and drive your way up onto the ramp here. But of course, everybody has their eye on the top prize, and that is to win Best of Show and all that that brings. Well, the talk show will be bringing you all the action live on Haggerty and presented by WeatherTech right from our stage just there.
That's right, Justin. I'm Tommy Kendall, and you and I, those watching at home, have the best seat in the house. People have been preparing for this day for literally more than 10 years, but the actual official concourse day began long before dawn this morning. Best of show at the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance.
Welcome everybody. What a way to start the show. It's just beautiful. Take a look behind us. That is the view that's greeted everybody, as Tommy said, from the early start this morning. There's something special about this year though, TK. We came out of, you hate to say, I'm not even going to say that word. We came out of that enforced solitude last year, and this event really picked up the steam. But this year, we have everybody turning up, and it's basically, it feels like Pebble Beach just before all that started.
Well, there were actually classes that had to be pushed to this year because we had a crowd, but it wasn't the full crowd. We had some owners, but it wasn't the full owners. We were missing a lot of our great owners from Europe. And so this year is the first full-strength post-COVID Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. And you know, last year we talked about there were some upsets and so forth, and already someone has thrown a bit of a grenade in the punch bowl where we've had some cars scratch big time favorites. And so there's a sense of chaos and also anticipation. People thinking maybe they didn't have a shot. All of a sudden, it's wide open.
Let's re-emphasize the significance of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance on the automotive lifestyle social calendar. Its place in August really has been cemented, as you know now, for 71 years, and that's for good reason. It sort of captures everybody's hearts and soul. It started in such a strong organic place when you think the road races took place on the streets just outside here. And then a group of friends said, you know, with Phil Hill as one of them, let's just pop out over onto the grass and showcase our cars. New cars at the time, Tommy, not old ones. And of course, it has just gathered momentum from there. One thing that we've really noticed about this year is the week has just been jam-filled with everything you can imagine. Every OEM in the country. Moving forwards. And then the ACO came with Tom Christensen, they've got Jackie X here, Monsieur Pierre Fillon from the ACO with this beautiful new trophy. They've decided after 100 years since the first race that they should have a new trophy to celebrate the next 100 years. And I tell you what, they bought, Sandra presented as a surprise, this absolutely gorgeous race-winning Le Mans car. They didn't know about it, and it really made the whole event come together. I tell you what, I said to TK, the trouble for him is he knows he can't win that one.
Well, I was wondering, I saw the gears turning. You said you know you can't win this one. I mean, he's probably thinking, well, maybe I can. And that trophy would be worth a comeback.
If anyone can, he can. Now, of course, the other thing about this weekend, Tommy, is that we have to remind ourselves that this definitely is a competition. Sandra Button always likes to remind all the entrants, who probably don't need any reminding, but it is a competition for all the good reasons. What do you consider the DNA, the ingredients of a competition? Because I think we have them here.
Well, I mean, obviously, in this context with the concours cars itself, it's the provenance of the cars, the elegance. It's right there in the name. It's the authenticity and it's the level of presentation. And so you've got the class wins, which we don't want to downplay, because you've got to get through your class before you can be considered for that all-important best of show. So now we've had 71 years. We have 100 years of looking back for Le Mans, but what's so cool about this show is it's a bunch of looking back and celebrating and honoring the past with these great cars, but there's another eye looking forward, because we're all living in today and all these car designers and visionaries are looking forward. And that takes us to a huge attraction, which is the concept lawn at Pebble Beach. A lot of cars that have been on this lawn have changed the design direction of future cars. Look at that Genesis, that's called the Speedium concept. This Lincoln, look at the size of those wheels. It opens up like a clamshell. Truly, someone just, their mind exploded. They said, get crazy. The whole roof pops up and both doors open like a clamshell. We saw some supercars from Sidziger. You saw Koenigsegg unveiling their newest car. And like I said, it's a little bit of a huge focus group of the most influential car people in the world. And if people go crazy for it here on the concept lawn, there's a chance that you'll see it making its way into the design language of those brands.
I talked with some of the designers, and it doesn't matter whether it's Gordon Murray, Ralph Gilles, the design group from Ital Design, who are working with the DeLorean. Yes, DeLorean, just think about that. Instant recognition to a brand that's basically taken 40 years for the original vision to be disclosed, almost imagined here. For me, it's those guys, and I've asked them all, what's it like when you walk the field? Does it inspire you to what could be in the future? And Flavio Manzoni, who's the head of design for Ferrari, chief design officer, he said to me, yeah. I said, doesn't the back of this car look a little bit like a BB512? And he went, no, but a little, you know, because there's elements, and as a designer, this place must be amazing. I think the other thing that really has hit home, Sandra Button, who's the chairman of the Pebble Beach Company, she has an invitation list. She has a network of people that span the globe. And last year, a lot of them couldn't make their way here. So the uptake this year on her invitation is staggering. And as you walk around, you see some of the biggest names in the industry, the most in entertainment, from the auto car industry, Jim Farley from Ford, the CEO of Ford. I mean, it is unbelievable. If a tidal wave came in off the bay, it would wipe out the entire car and maybe most of the economy. Absolutely amazing.
Well, the other thing that's hard to overstate is just how much it's taken over this. Pebble Beach is the anchor, but there's events for 10 days here at Pebble Beach. And I don't think the only thing I can compare it to is the Masters, where every luxury house is rented. Like all the brands have houses on Pebble Beach and have parties every night. You've got the auctions, and it's just grown into 10 days. And I think about the metaverse is promising us a digital fantasy land that's everything you've dreamt of. This is the metaverse in real life here in Pebble Beach Car Week.
So one would be very right in believing that a certain era of car have dominated here, Tommy, but things are on the move. There's a little change. We saw that last year. Why don't you run through some of the stats?
Well, last year we talked about the pre-war, post-war, and we had 2 post-war cars in that final lineup of 4 cars. They did not get best of show, but the winds of change are blowing, and so you've got 20 different manufacturers. Obviously, you have that era of the 30s is absolutely dominant. It's like the Jordan Bulls. But at some point, when you walk the field, I relate more to the post-war cars and the Ferraris and the Astons and some of those things. But when you walk by one of those big Duesenbergs or something like that, it's hard to deny the presence of those cars. So like I like to say at the racetrack, that's why you run the races. But the history is strongly on the side of the big, bold pre-war cars.
We're going to play a game a bit like you could at home, and that is, what do we like the look of? Now, we have to say that Tommy and I, well, Tommy goes with more technical things. I'm like a Labrador puppy, and if I see a shiny object, I run in that direction. But we were going to choose 2 or 3, 4 cars that we felt, just, it's no money in it, but pride. We've talked to people, we wandered the field, we saw the cars on the tour. And I have a couple of picks, Tommy, that I thought I would share with you. There were 5, but 2 of our cars dropped out. Are you going to go first?
Well, this is one of mine. I figure if I'm going to stick with the pre-war, it's Talladega night. They talk about the big, hairy American winning machine. This is not big. It's not hairy, but it is big and it's American. And this is the kind of car that wins best in show here. That 32 Duesenberg J. Pagoni Sports Torpedo. Great story behind this car as well. The body and chassis were separated for several decades. This owner bought both cars and combined them, put it back to its original state. This is one of my top picks.
Well, my one, I just thought was so staggering. This Tabelago Figoni and Felici teardrop coupe. It is so beautiful. I went out there and took a photograph of it myself, not this one. This car is very special because it's one of just a handful, actually one of 14 that were made without the sunroof, actually one of 4 without the sunroof. So it meant the lines were a lot cleaner. And this car, you could say it's a beauty contestant, but actually it finished 11th at the US Grand Prix in 1950 at Watkins Glen. Just think about that. I love it. And I have another kind of pick, which I'm going to claim as mine, which is R114. And this car I've seen up close and impersonal. Who doesn't love a Ferrari GTO? And certainly after that, Trey Posty did so well last year with no racing pedigree, the Ferrari. I think in the era of Le Mans, and sports cars and race cars at auctions are doing so incredibly well. They're sort of the popular name of the game right now. And this one has been totally, perfectly restored as it would have started Le Mans back in the day. This is not a cosmetic or a sort of secondary restoration. This is a race-prepped car, Tommy. If you wanted to start Le Mans tomorrow, this car would do it.
The funny thing about that too is that up until a month ago, that was the most expensive car to ever change hands. Now that doesn't mean it deserves to win here at Pebble Beach, but it speaks to desirability, one of the most desirable cars on earth. So because we had two of our favorites scratch, we've been listening to what people talk about, and a lot of people are saying there's some wild cards kind of entering the frame now that the thing's wide open. So we got the 1910 Rolls Royce there. If it were to win Best in Show, it would be the oldest car ever.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the show is starting. Expensive, talk about that GTO. It is there on the stage behind us, bringing up Derek Hill. Let's just join the action, but make no mistake about it. Everybody is here for the competition to start.
On an upcoming film, Ferrari, he uses his technical racing background to help bring history to life, retracing the courses that played a pivotal role in the shaping of the success of Ferrari's race team as we know it. Please give a round of applause for our very own Derek Hill.
Wow, Pebble Beach, what a pleasure it is to be back and to arrive on the ramp in one of my all-time favorite cars. Let's see if we can get a rev from Dave McNeil. The best, a Ferrari V12. Thank you, Dave McNeil, for that opportunity. Here we are again on the 18th fairway at Pebble Beach, surrounded by some of the best cars ever built. Before we begin, join me in welcoming the woman who brings these exceptional cars together year after year, chairman of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, Sandra Button.
There you go.
Sandra and her team have put together a truly outstanding group of cars. In doing so, she's raised over $2 million. This year alone for local charities. Here she comes now in this 1932 Lincoln KB Murphy Roadster, owned by John Mozart. Ladies and gentlemen, Sandra Button. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Colin.
We have a lot to look forward to today. Thank you, Sandra. Over 200 of the world's best kept cars from 21 countries and 32 states were accepted. And among them, we pay special attention to our centennial celebrations. Our show field is proud to host Lincoln for its centennial year, as well as kick off the celebrations for the 100th year of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. If you are watching our event live at pebble.haggerty.com or on one of our social media sites, we welcome you. And for those of you here sharing photos of your favorite cars, be sure to use the hashtag PebbleConcours and PebbleCars. And for your friends and family that couldn't make it, be sure to let them know that the show can be streamed at pebble.haggerty.com. The Pebble Beach Concours live stream is presented by WeatherTech and brought to you live by Haggerty and produced by Torque Media. Join me in giving a big thank you to everyone who made it possible, and let's get on with the show.
Well, that was fantastic, Tommy, to see Derek come up in the GTO, and then of course Sandra. Let's talk about Sandra Button for a moment. She really.
That was a closely held secret. The car that Derek,
Oh, yeah.
that was not staged where we picked it as one of our favorites.
No.
It was almost done on cue. It's clearly a car that is a heavy hitter there, and seeing it on stage, it was just dropped dead. And the car behind it, that Lincoln has not been one of our favorites, but it's got to be in the Best of Show buzz as well.
David Coulthard walking past the stage, you get all the big hitters turn up. That's fantastic. You know, back to the celebrities, that's what Sandra brings to this event. But let's talk about Sandra Button. She really has evolved this event to something that is unparalleled on the world stage. And I got the chance to chat with her before this all started yesterday morning. So It's very rare that Sandra likes to go on camera, but I managed to get her just before the show started. Well, of course, Pebble Beach Sunday wouldn't be complete without a chat with one of my favorite people, chairman of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, Sandra Button. Sandra, last year we thought, oh, the enforced lockdown was over and everyone would be here, but not everyone could make it. Am I right in saying it feels busier this year?
Well, you know, Justin, I agree with you. You know, a lot of these people I haven't seen since the 2019 Pebble. A lot of our honorary judges and judges from all over the world couldn't come. I mean, visas were almost impossible.
Yeah.
And this year we have twice as many international cars.
You always remind us that this is a competition. And I remember when I mentioned it to Jay Leonard once, I said, oh, you guys don't care about the trophy. He went, oh, we care about the trophy. How do you balance that between the aesthetics and the appeal of this event and the money, time, passion, dedication it takes to bring a car to the lawn?
Well, you know, that's the explosion of power I feel on the day of show. I mean, you think about the hours and the thought that have been put into making these cars right. And, you know, some of these cars they've been working on since 2018 and before, researching, working, getting them ready, and they want to win. I mean, this Pebble is a competition, and you feel that crackle when you watch the judges walk around and captains of industry that own these cars are quaking in their boots, hoping that that car starts and the lights work and the clock is going, and because that's sort of the technical judging is the first step. If you don't win your class, you cannot be best of show.
Sandra, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know today, by the time we're watching this, she'll be a very busy lady.
And relieved at the end of the day. It's kind of like being Santa Claus. You know, you look forward to Christmas, but when it's done,
You can have a drink.
yeah, exactly.
Well, as you can see behind us, the Parade of Elegance has started. And Tommy, Parade of Elegance, it really is, because, and these cars, I mean, how do they end up in this category? Is it from all the cars there, or how do they get selected to be elegant?
Well,
elegant.
It's a good carryover from Sandra, because Sandra, her fingerprints are on every aspect of this. The cars that are on the field, the judges that are here, the so forth, the special classes like these Talbot Lago Grand Sports are all the Parade of Elegance that we're seeing. And so they just take a lot of input from a lot of different people and say, we're going to feature these cars. And this is, you know, probably the greatest gathering of Grand Sports in one place at one time. And each one is prettier than the last.
Unbelievable. Well, talking about a man who looks pretty styling, did we all dress today, David, to match the sofas, to match the chairs? We look good.
We were all matching.
We were all matching. David McNeil, everybody, who you just saw pull onto the ramp with his gorgeous GTO. I thought we needed to get you on because I've been a part, you know, verbally through your journey bringing this car up. You told me about it. What goes through your mind when you say, all right, Pebble Beach is the goal, and I have this gorgeous car, but I've got to do a lot more to it to get it to Pebble? What goes through your mind?
Well, the first thing when you take a car that's even, let's say, 98% perfect, there's 2% that isn't.
Yeah.
And you can't just add 2%. You have to bring it down to 0 and then go all the way back up to, hopefully they'll agree with me that it's back at 100% now.
The philosophy, Tommy, I told you when we saw it the other night, you went through archives, you looked at historic photographs. That car is not just cosmetically ready to go, it's ready to race.
My GTO is spiritually, emotionally, mechanically, and cosmetically ready to start the 24 hours of Le Mans right now.
That's quite an extraordinary achievement, because I'm sure not every car can say that, but I know you like to go right to, as you say, right to the frame and get it going.
Well, as you know, we're involved in professional racing in the WeatherTech series, IMSA series, and we have the WeatherTech racing team. And so we know what it takes to prepare a car to run 24 hours.
Yep.
Well, we've not only done that for the GTO, but we've also cosmetically made it perfect, and we've really gone to some extra details like the lead seals for the coolant cap, the oil cap, and the fuel cap.
Oh, talk about that, about the drilling. Did you hear this about someone had to drill?
We drilled into the body of the GTO to put these latches on to comply with what the car looked like in 1963 at the start of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. We've also got the stamp from the scrutineers on the left front fender, the yellow stickers that denote class, the stripes for the jacking points. We've gone to every detail possible. The venting that helps keep the rear brakes warmer during the night, and you know it always rains at Le Mans or it's colder at night or something like that, so you want to keep the brakes hotter, so we've got those vents closed off on the back of the car with a mesh. We've gone to every detail, so the car it's a Le Mans class, it's ready for Le Mans, and it's ready to start the race.
When I walked the lawn earlier, it was pretty cold, and you were huddled under the blanket next to the car. It looked like your stomach was in a knot, like you were about to do a night stint at Le Mans.
Well, you know what? At 3 in the morning at Le Mans, that's what you're sitting there. You get a blanket on, you're sitting in the chair in your box, and then in the pit, and you're just kind of keeping warm and waiting and resting.
How are the nerves right now?
I'm good. I'm good. You know why? Because we've done everything we can do to do as well as we could possibly do here, and it's up to the judges, and we'll see how it goes.
Do you feel exposed when the judges walk towards the car? You tell them the story, you point out the details, but at that moment, you're no longer, a titan of industry. It doesn't matter what you do.
Well, I'm a car guy.
You're a car guy in that moment.
First and foremost, and so I'm there to tell them about the car.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you're proud of the car, if you believe in the car, if you believe in the research, the tens of thousands of photographs and pages and videos you've looked at for this car and researched it to the nth degree. I mean, even the brake lines, we had the copper plate them because you can't buy copper plated brake lines. So to make it right, you copper plate the brake lines. So all these things, the oil filter, you can't buy an oil filter that's a period oil filter. So we took a new one, sanded it, painted it orange, and put the correct graphics on it from 1963. You know what? The difference between success and failure in anything is always about the details.
Yeah, wow.
Now, you talked about being a car guy. That was something I was thinking about earlier. There's a lot of people that have different journeys here. Obviously, everyone here loves cars. Cars have been your life. Your whole business is around cars. I mean, cars have been a huge part of your life since you were little. Does that give this event and this pursuit maybe extra weight and heft or meaning to you?
Well, I'm a competitor, so I'm going to try to do the best I can. And if I apply myself to something, we are going to give it our best shot. I can go to bed tonight, no matter what happens with the judging. I'm going to go to bed tonight knowing I did the best I could do.
I like that. Well, David, we're actually seeing the judges line up behind. These are heavy hitters. Pretty much the entire weight of the car world. CEOs, designers.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what this is. I think that's what makes Pebble unique. The judging lineup is maybe the toughest in the whole world.
Definitely, and the judges are well schooled. They've studied the cars, they've studied the information, and when they show up, they know what they're looking at. And there's such a variety of cars here, the judges really take their job seriously, and I have to admire them for that.
Yeah, amazing.
I mean, taking your car out of it and that emotion, walking down that line of Le Mans cars had to have been special for you.
It's an epic experience to see all those cars and all the history behind all those cars.
Yeah. David, thank you. I know what you've got to do now is you've got to go back to that big bucket of champagne you and your friends are drinking and get prepped for the end. That's the only difference between this and Le Mans. You wouldn't have been drinking. Thank you so much for coming. Good luck. Good luck.
I don't wish racers good luck. Have fun.
Have fun. All right.
Thanks a lot.
Oops, we got to get unplugged here.
Well, Tommy, just look at that. The judges, as they're being introduced individually, it's very important that every one of them get acknowledged to the crowd because they have taken time out of it. It's obviously not a paid job. They come here to do this. Two types of judges. Explain that.
Yes, there's the product experts that are familiar with every nut bolt of their particular car, be it a Packard, a Duesenberg, a Le Mans car. Race cars are a little different because they're kind of one-off, but there are things you look for and so forth. And then you have the honorary judges, and these are all the industry heavyweights that come through, and there's so many of them. They've got them broken into two groups as we see them all. And I guarantee you, even though these are heavy hitters, there's some butterflies in their stomach, and this is a real moment of pride to be asked to come judge at the Pebble Beach Concours, because this is the big daddy of them all.
I went up into the judges' restroom, that sounded bad. I went into the judges' break room where they all been gathering, and first of all I saw Jim Farley, and then I actually was sitting, I saw Jackie Hicks up there. He just came past the stage a minute ago. Seeing Jochen Mass, he'll be joining us later, as will Gordon Murray. Really, Flavio Manzoni, I mentioned him. He dresses as well as a Ferrari is designed. Just incredible people. Just look at that.
Gordon Murray, the guy behind all those successful race cars and the most iconic modern-day supercar, the McLaren F1. It's got those CBE letters after his name, being recognized by the Queen. And maybe the most popular name amongst the kids is the founder of PlayStation. You saw him just scrolled off. And here we go. Look at those. Each one a absolute all-star in their own right.
I guess some got a different dress code, as you can see. If you're more of a designer, you can be a little flashier. It's a bit like us.
I was going to say, is that what's going on here?
Other than the fact I matched the sofa. Well, as we're watching them, we cannot name them by name, literally because there are too many, but you see them listed down the side. Here's a little interview we did to explain a bit more about the judges' process.
The selection committee is a group of 15 of us. We are responsible for selecting the cars for the concours. We get a huge amount of applicants, and every year we're always trying to keep it to around 200 cars, which is difficult.
If you've worked on a car and put your life into a vehicle, that's the ultimate goal, is to have it on the lawn at Pebble Beach. Just being on the field at the Pebble Beach Concours gives a car a certain pedigree and panache. It's really important for a judge to step back and look at the car as a whole. We use a basic 20-category form, and that goes over both the mechanical operation of the car, its physical appearance, and the authenticity of the restoration.
It's not just a beauty contest. It has a lot to do with the details, finishes on the cars. It's a lot of the fittings on the cars, and were they available when the car was new, and is that what the factory used? I don't want to see under restoration, but I don't want to see over restoration. To me, that's the most important thing.
Once the judging is completed and the selections are made, first, second, and third place in the class, the first place cars have a ballot for best of show.
Being on the field is the start of the fantastic journey that one car is going to make to become best of show.
The best of show car now becomes world famous and is featured in magazines and TV shows. Pebble Beach has become the Super Bowl of Concours car shows. People put their game face on for Pebble Beach. It's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Its legacy has kind of lent itself to that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the best of show Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance winner is...
Volume of the feature is high.
Well, there you can see the second lineup, Tony, of judges. Last year, as a sign of the restrictions on international travel, there was only one lineup of judges. This year, we have the full squad back. Interesting, the dynamic, though, between the honorary judges and, what do you call them, the official one?
Well, there's honorary and there's the class judges.
Class judges. The class judges are the only ones who hold the fate of best of show in their hands, correct?
I think everybody doesn't have a best in show, but there are some honorary judges that do as well.
All right. Look at the names here, Tommy.
There's Jochen Mass, we see in his trademark red trousers. They call those Nantucket Reds here, but he's not from Nantucket.
Let's just listen to Derek a minute, because he's seeing them all. Well, let's go. We can have a guess.
You see a couple names. Last year we had Lynn St. James on. She'll be joining us again. And we're also really looking forward to talking to Linda Zhang, who is the chief engineer behind the new F-150 Lightning truck. So speaking of looking forward, we're going to get her thoughts on what she's seen, but also where Ford Motor Company is heading with their electrification.
Well, as this continues, let's take a quick break and hear from one of our sponsors.
It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Our wait is finally over. This driving season, hit the road with Hagerty and get the protection your Classic deserves. Tailor your coverage with guaranteed value and enjoy unparalleled service with savings up to 34%. There's a reason we're the #1 provider of collectible vehicle insurance. Hagerty has you covered, no matter what's around the bend. Get a quote today at Hagerty.com.
Well, as the judges continue to line up, Lynn St. James there on the left. What a great shot. It's really a big thing. I can see Ed Wellborn off to the right.
They just introduced Freeman Thomas, who was head of design for Ford for a while, used to work for Porsche. Now the chief designer at Myers-Manx, who's releasing the new second generation of the Myers-Manx Dune Buggy, an electric version. They launched that in Malibu last week.
Ed Wellborn, I saw he and his wife walking around the Quail on Friday, enjoying all the action. Of course, he's moved on to a little bit more leisure in his life, I think, and he's enjoying being a regular attendee at all these events. And another very well-dressed man, Stefan Winkelmann. And one of our friends, I waved him up on the balcony this morning, Kazunori-san, who literally, if you took him to any car event in the world, he could be maybe the most popular man there.
Yes.
Can you imagine being the founder of the world's most influential video game anywhere?
And there's Linda Zhang. The PlayStation is having outsized influence. It's so influential with the young people, but the design, some of their Gran Turismo Vision cars are being brought to life. You debuted one just the other day.
Absolutely. I had the great fortune to announce the reveal of the new McLaren Solus GT, which millions of people have driven from their sofas at home. And in a collaboration between Kazunori-san and McLaren, maybe McLaren uniquely positioned to build a car like this because of their responsive engineering and the way they can just create vehicles almost out of the air. And it was just so amazing to see. Bruno Senna said to me it's the fastest car he has driven, maybe including a Formula One car. Well, it is time, guys, to start this extraordinary afternoon of activities. It is the start of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance class winners.
This year's Best of Show winner. This year, we will be presenting all 25 special awards after the class awards and the charity drawing. This means your car could be coming up to the ramp twice. So entrants, please stay by your car until the special awards have concluded. To announce the class awards, please welcome back to the mic, Martin Button. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Derek. Well, we had the Parade of Elegance followed by the Parade of Intelligence, and now we'll have Class A, the antique cars. And third in class is the 1911 Rambler Model 65 7-passenger touring, owned by Joe and Janice Conzier of San Marino, California. The Rambler Company of Kenosha, Wisconsin, produced one of the most luxurious automobiles of the early 20th century. Recognized by the slogan, "The comfort of the parlor and the speed of the express train." This glorious example is believed to be the sole existing Model 65, and is quite possibly the only one built on a 128-inch chassis. Note the huge 41-inch tires necessary for navigating the rutted roads of the early 1900s. Luckily for us, the inaccessibility of replacement tires caused this Rambler to be retired for much of its life under the original ownership of a Mr. Johnson, who kept the motor car from 1911 till 1963. Thank you, Joe and Janice, for bringing the car today. Second in class, we have a 1910 Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost Fuller double Pullman limousine, all the way from Harrogate in the United Kingdom, and entered today by Mr. John Bentley. And there he is, in all his glory. Hi, John. This spectacular Silver Ghost was ordered by Douglas Fletcher in Scotland and coached by A. Fuller Coachworks of Bath, England. And it is affectionately known as the Fuller, and is believed to be the earliest Silver Ghost fitted with electric lights. This car lived in Scotland for many years before it came to the United States and then went back to the UK. What a beautiful example of an Edwardian ghost. And first in class, Mr. Charles Nurburg of Dallas, Texas, with his 1911 Lozier Type 51 Lakewood Touring. This magnificent Type 51 has 9.1-liter six-cylinder T-head engine, and it was renowned for its sophisticated engineering and performance. Thank you, Charles, for bringing the car today all the way from Dallas, Texas. Our next class is McFarlane. And the third in class is a 1924 McFarlane 142 twin-valve six Roadster, owned by Chris McAllister of Indianapolis, Indiana. Chris was very helpful in putting this class together. He's a big McFarlane fan. And no wonder, these massive six-cylinder engines have a 6-inch bore and a 4-inch stroke, displacing 572 cubic inches. The largest displacement engine available in a production car in 1924. Thanks, Chris, for bringing it all the way from Indianapolis. Second in class is a McFarlane Twin Six Phaeton, owned by Johnny and Christine Crowell of San Ramon, California. And they've got a car full there. The 1926 McFarlane, chassis number 23407, is believed to have belonged to boxer Jack Dempsey.
It certainly looks like it. Look how
it's thought to be the only remaining McFarlane of this year and body style.
At that point, just the
car was
stature of these
previously owned and
cars,
restored by the Imperial Palace
really
Collection,
very impressive.
and more
They've
recently
held their
by
way through to
Robert
today.
Jepson.
And one of the owners said, Stan Lucas said, this is about the most expensive, most inefficient way you could move a person. And that's kind of why he liked it. And look at this. I wouldn't say surprise, surprise, but look who takes the class win in the McFarlane class. It's the Nethercuts, who are like the Calumet Farms of this sport, the winningest collectors in the Pebble Beach Best of Show, and they win with their 1923 McFarlane 154 twin-valve 6 Knickerbocker Cabriolet. So they get through with another shot at a Pebble Beach Best in Show.
It really is, for the car that wins its class, you've broken through your first nerve barrier, right? Your anticipatory barrier, because that's the first goal. If you can't win your class, you cannot be entered for you're not in the shot for the big one.
Well, we almost do it a disservice by focusing on best of show so much. I guess maybe that's just the American way. We always look at the biggest prize. But to win your class against these fields in any one of the classes is an absolutely staggering accomplishment. And the obsession and the preparation and the passion that goes into this is remarkable.
Well, American classics, Tommy, cars between the two world wars. Imagine the emotion, the economies, the turmoil that's gone on in the world, and yet unleashed, rather like a flower blooming in the desert. Suddenly you get cars like this absolutely stunning Stutz LeBaron Torpedo Speedster, even a great name, came to life at a time when everybody was so uncertain. It's amazing to me.
Just look at the scale of these cars, and so we've got the third place, the 1930 Stutz, but waiting for the announcement of who. We see the cars lined up at the ramp. Who will be second, who will be first in American Classic? And this is, look at, that's a Chrysler, ladies and gentlemen. 1933 Chrysler CL Imperial Custom LeBaron Dual Cal Phaeton, owned by Laura and Jack Boyd Smith from Elkhart, Indiana. And this is one of the cars that they figured if it could get through, it does not, but was one of the cars talked about as a wild card when some of the favorites scratched early. And the next one is definitely one of those. This is C06, the 1933 Chrysler CL, another CL Imperial custom de Villers Cabriolet. This car, I think, was originally, it was constructed one of 6 CLs, and it was exported to Paris to have that de Villers, I'm probably saying that incorrectly, elegant Cabriolet body. But I mean, to think of that as look at that Chrysler, look at the scale, look at the presence, look at the size of the wheels. And this is owned by, as I said, Mary and Ted Stahl, and also Mark Hyman, a former Best in Show winner, is a co-owner of this car and oversaw the restoration. So in with a shot at another Best of Show. This car will go down into the winner's circle pen with all of the other class winners. And the judges are asked to not put their Best of Show ballots in until all the class winners are in that pen. And this is a car that people are thinking that once people see it in the pen, they'll give it a second look now that some of the favorites that they might have been leaning towards didn't make the field.
So now the Packard class, truly one of the most established classes here, marked here at Pebble Beach. This is the second winningest American mark that has ever crossed the ramp here, Tommy, which obviously gives these cars a gravitas that they truly deserve. I mean, 1930 Packard 734 Speedster 8 Runabout. How do these judges decide between the top 3, as we're, let alone the top 8, the top 3? I don't know.
Well, us making predictions, I should have said at the start, only a fool would make predictions in class or for Best of Show, but that's I guess that's what we're here for. But yeah, the competition, again, you know, after every race you hear people say, yeah, my team works so hard. Well, every single one of these cars represents years and years and years of truly obsession. And the results, they're just spectacular. A 1930 Packard 745 Deluxe 8 Roadster. Joe and Margie Cassini out of New Jersey. Stalwart entrance here at Pebble Beach.
Thank you, Joe and Margie, for bringing the car today.
Look at the way you sit in the back. That's one of the best. When my kids were a bit younger, I would have paid handsomely to have a separate compartment in the rumble seat. Now, I don't know if the camera can just pop on us here. Watching the cars pass behind our stage is maybe the highlight of the day for me. They literally pass behind us 15 feet. We have to make sure they hang a hard left, Tommy, and the brakes don't fail on a pre or post-war car. But the winner is...
It's funny, I mentioned it earlier. You and I obviously relate perhaps more to the post-war cars, but when you see these cars roll across, you can see what the appeal is and why they have dominated in the best of show. The winner here, a 1938 Packard 1608-12 Rolston Town Car. Bob Tiffin from Alabama. It's a Series 1608 Packard. It's called a town car. V12 engine, 175 horsepower with a 3-speed selective synchromesh manual transmission on a, get this, 139-inch wheelbase. Coachwork is by Rolston, a New York City coach builder.
Our next class today is Lincoln V8. 1926 Lincoln L. Willoughby, Shirley, Londolet. Owned by Max Neary of Sherman Oaks, California. This sweet Lincoln is one of just 10 built with a Berlin Londolet body by Willoughby, and it's believed to be the only complete surviving Lincoln with this body. The car's original owner was Mary C. of C's Candies, Los Angeles. What a sweet car. Second in the Lincoln V8 class is a Lincoln L1768 Sport Phaeton, owned by Tom and Joanne Martindale of Santa Cruz, California. A very horny car. This 1930 Lincoln mirrored its 1929 predecessor almost exactly, with perhaps the most notably to the eye had a higher, narrower, and slightly more square radiator shaft. This particular Model L carries a 4-door, 4-passenger Sport Phaeton body, which also debuted in 1929.
All right, this is the runner-up in the V8 Lincoln class, the 1930 Lincoln L176A Sport Phaeton, and they got that Ooga horn going. Look at them dressed to their
Coming
finest.
right behind us, Tommy. That's what I love about it. When the next car comes, I'll ask our producer to just show that how close they are right behind us as they make their way up the ramp. I mean, literally right there. I mean, this is the best seat in the house. It makes us feel very fortunate. The car on the block right now, though, Tommy, that's the winner of the
This is
V8s?
the winner of the V8s. It's a 1928 Lincoln L. Holbrook fully collapsible cabriolet, owned by Bill and Dee Kuddle of Capitola, California. Just 12 of these fully collapsible cabriolets were built by Holbrook for Lincoln between 27 and 29. You know, Holbrook, in addition to the focus on one-offs, buddies for well-off individuals and luxury chassis builders, began to supply semi-customs and even production bodies to select manufacturers.
Next we go from V8 Lincoln to V12 Lincoln.
Well, as we watch this stunning Lincoln V12 because that is how they've separated these classes, come up onto the ramp, we're going to take a moment because I got the chance a few weeks ago back in California, Southern California, to drive a 100-year-old car. And Tommy, when I was told I had a date with a 100-year-old, I was in dubious mindset about it. And then I found out it was a beautiful car. Count me in. What an experience. Just take a look at this, guys. Well, obviously, every car out on the field at Pebble Beach has a wonderful story to be told, but not all of them over 100 years old. And that's why I'm here in the Valley in Los Angeles, standing next to one of the earliest Lincolns ever made. A 1922 round-bodied 7-passenger touring Lincoln. This absolute beauty really was the epitome of what Lincoln meant in American car culture. Just after the period when Ford had bought Lincoln, this car was a pivotal vehicle in American history. It has definitely stood the test of time. But the story is very interesting because in 1922, this car was shipped up to Portland, where it ended up on the dealership of Henry J. Casey. But with a vehicle like this costing more than the average house and a recession on its way, it just sat on the forecourt at Henry J. Casey's dealership. So he said, I'm gonna make it into my family car. And that's where the story starts. Well, what a magnificent car. And what would you do if you had a new family car that can take 7 people? You go on road trips. And that is what the Casey family did for well over a decade. But in 1932, Henry decided to put the car away for a little bit. And as he did so, he said to his son, Paul, it's yours, my son. Trouble was, Paul was 5 years old at the time, so the car was put away in the garage for the next 40 years. Until it was handed down to Paul's sons, Tim and Michael. In the early 70s, they thought, let's do a little bit of work on it. But amazingly enough, the car was so well built, so refined, so full of such durable engineering for its era that it needed nothing other than cosmetics. The engine, the drivetrain, all ran perfectly. And then the clock spun forward, and in 2019, Tim decided it was time for a full frame-off restoration, which of course gives us this beautiful car that we have now. To drive it, I feel like I've undergone time travel. Other than the clothes, the shoes, my watch, and my haircut, I feel exactly the same way Henry would have done when he drove it off his own dealership full front. What a beautiful car. The way it just started on the first crank, it's smooth, it's pretty much the epitome of open-air driving. And as I look around at all the modern-day high-tech cars zooming past me, one thing is for sure. In 100 years, not only will this car still be owned by one family, it'll also be the only one on the road still running.
Here we have the third Lincoln class, but you saw in the split screen a couple of heavyweights battling in the Lincoln V12 class. John and Heather Mozart were defeated, best of show winners by Ross Myers, who won his class in the Duesenberg last year. A huge Ford, has almost exclusively Fords and Lincolns. Obviously he has a Duesenberg too, but a big collector of very significant Ford race cars. And Ross and Beth Myers winning the Lincoln V12 class and giving themselves a shot at best in show.
And a large scream out of the window from, I presume, is his wife, saying, we won it! I love that. Oh, look at that. My God, Tommy, look at that. It's spectacular, that beautiful blue Lincoln. Oh, my gosh.
You almost don't need to say what this is, because the Lincoln Continental convertible, this one is owned by the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. 61 and 62s were virtually identical. But obviously these cars were made famous, very, very popular with the Kennedys, and unfortunately the last car that the president rode in. But they're suicide doors, those double doors, truly an American icon.
I gotta say, I've been coming here 20 years and on and off, and I just had never pictured a Continental convertible on the ramp, and it somehow, that is the beauty of Pebble Beach. It doesn't matter what the car is or the mark is, when it actually makes its way to the top of the ramp, because it is the best of its kind at that moment, they deserve their place there, and somehow they fit.
And this is the winner in the class, the 56 Continental Mark II hardtop coupe, owned by Leon Flagg and Curtis Lamont from Mequon, Wisconsin. The first generation of Continentals ended in '48, but just 2 years later, William Clay Ford Sr., who might actually be here, Edsel's youngest son, was determined to revive the Continental name. He was a trainee at Ford Motor Company at the time, but he dedicated himself to the project, working with their special projects team, and this is the result. This car was debuted at the Paris Auto Show in October of 1955.
Wow, and it just passes behind us here. That paintwork. I'm always staggered, Tommy, because the world, when these cars were being produced, was one thing, but the world's when the unorthodox propulsion class comes up. And talk a little bit more about unorthodox propulsion. These are friends of the talk show, the Audrain collection, owned by Nick Schorsch, and run and pioneered by them. Some amazing cars in that collection.
One thing, this is an electric car. Talk about a history. This was originally was bought new by, I believe, Briggs Cunningham's mother. And back then, even electric cars today have noise. You hear some gear whine and so forth. This car is virtually silent.
Wow.
And it is, it could almost be in the preservation class because it is, I don't believe it's been restored. It was owned by Briggs Cunningham. It's been maintained over 100 years old, and a spectacular car. It was thought back then, you think about, if a lady wanted to go driving, so Briggs's mother, to get the horse and carriage going was not exactly a fun proposition. So,
whoa, I have seen this car before. A turbine Chrysler. It's the Gear Coupe. Mary and Ted Stahl actually own it out of Michigan, as it should stay in Michigan. Created, born and bred in Michigan. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
We'll be quiet a moment.
You can run it on diesel, kerosene, jet fuel, perfume, peanut oil, soybean oil, and we've been told tequila.
it will run on just about anything with a high alcohol content. Diesel, kerosene, jet fuel, perfume, peanut oil, and soybean oil. Maybe even tequila.
That is fantastic.
I mean, we're in an era now where people are wondering, with the energy crisis and so forth, everyone's rushing towards some alternate vehicles. Might be time to bring back the turbine.
Just not very good for anyone behind it. That is the trouble. Sort of fries whatever's behind. We're just watching it pass behind the stage now and a little bit awestruck.
What a beautiful design. And you can't hear it, but it's an excellent class, first in class in 1907 Columbia. Excellent story.
Well, you want to talk about rare, a 1907 Columbia Mark 19 Surrey. It is believed to be the only Columbia Park Surrey in existence. I mentioned Mark Hyman earlier, having a share in that one class winner a little bit ago. This is also a Mark Hyman owned vehicle. So he's going to have two shots at adding to his best in show total. This car cost $1,900 new and would have served as a private carriage for trips to the opera, Sunday jaunts around with a limited distance. It was at the Henry Ford Museum until 2013 when it was decommissioned to a private collection. Differentiated itself from steam and gasoline vehicles as it offered occupants freedom from all the noise, odor, or vibration, which even today is appealing. But back then, it was a pretty dramatic. I mean, the fumes and the noise were pretty dramatic.
I imagine sitting right at the front, you have a pretty clear shot at it. Pretty exposed to the weather there, TK. Your hair might blow everywhere. Well, there's a lot of anticipation over the Duesenberg class every single time, Tommy. Will one of the favorites win? We are about to find out. But this stunning 1932 Figoni Sports, I mean, actually the dual Cal Phaeton, I apologize for that, 1929, just absolutely remarkable as it sits there. This was the era for me when America just went, yeah, we look at the guns on us. We'll show the rest of the world that we are ready to go. Just remarkable.
That is what you call a flex, pulling up in a Duesenberg like that.
Yeah. Sorry.
This was purchased new by chewing gum magnate Philip K. Wrigley, whose family members were major shareholders in the Auburn Automobile Company, entitling them to buy their several Duesenbergs at cost. Wow, what a machine. Dual cow Phaeton. Second place is a Duesenberg J Murphy dual cowl, another dual cowl Phaeton. That dual cowl Phaeton is when the top is down, there's a cowl in front of the rear seat as well with its own windshield. It's a really cool look when the top is down. This was bodied by the Walter Murphy Company, Pasadena Company. We've seen several Murphy bodied cars. They were really regarded for their clean, stylish designs.
Featuring an innovative two-piece butterfly rear cowl.
I mean, Tommy, we made some picks, and
I think I said that Duesenbergs are big American winning machines. Obviously, they're going to win their class, but what my pick after walking the field, look at the lines of that car. It just looks like a gangster machine, doesn't it? And so, but that means the winner is the car that we previewed early on, the 1932 Duesenberg J. Fagoni Sports Torpedo, Lee Anderson from Naples, Florida.
That is amazing.
And look at those, the louvers have the chrome trim, but those are actually louvers that are curved. I don't know how you cut a curved louver. Louvers are hard enough to do anyways. And the Duesenbergs, if you're keeping score at home, have been 6-time Best of Show winners. So these guys, Bugatti are the king of the heap. Last time was 2007. And I mentioned this car. Remember, this car was originally bodied with it was not originally done with the Fagoni, and then it got separated from its body because a subsequent owner switched it. The first owner was a Peruvian sugar heir, as it would be, but then Lee Anderson has to be given credit for the passion of tracking down. The body had been separated from the chassis, and he chased it for decades, and it took 25 years to get them married back together. I think he had to buy 2 cars to do it. He's probably feeling pretty good about that investment, but that just is the kind of obsession that leads to cars like this being brought back to life in such spectacular fashion. And that car will go down to the winner's circle pen, trying to give Duesenberg their 7th Best in Show at Pebble Beach.
Well, super excited to have our next guest with us. Linda Zhang is the chief engineer on the Ford F-150 Lightning project. Thank you so much for joining us, Linda.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, we wanted to get you here in time for unorthodox propulsion because we thought that will be your bag, right? And we saw turbine cars, obviously early electrics. Well, first of all, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
What do you make of Pebble Beach? Getting out of Detroit for Pebble Beach?
Oh, it's wonderful here. I mean, just the history of the vehicles and just this event, it's magnificent. And the fact that it also does so much for the community, I think is great too.
I mean, they raised millions of dollars a year for the community, and it stays right here on the peninsula, which is nice. It doesn't go outside. We talk about that at the end of the show when they award the checks, but I was wondering, you're an engineer, which means we just drove cars. You know, we never made them. But I've spoken to the designers. As they walk around, they go, ooh, that was good. We haven't done that. You know, they get inspired. When you look at the engineering on some of these cars, do you think, how did they pull that off? They didn't have CAD. They didn't have the ability of any of your computing power.
Absolutely. I mean, some of these cars date back to the 1920s, and they're absolutely beautiful. And even some of the older ones, you look at it, and they had such great lines. They had aerodynamics in mind in many cases, and then just the propulsion with the engine, with the cylinder designs. Those were fascinating as well, especially with some of the cooling that you can see with the vents and such. It was really very advanced for a lot of things that we even consider today. So
it must have been funny, Tommy, because you have to work out all the budgetary side of things and all the materials and the supply chain. I think they just cut holes in it and went out the door, didn't they?
They might have, and you can see a lot of that in the vehicles, right? They're lower volume designs, and some of them that are one of a kind almost, right? So those were very interesting to see for me.
Yeah. Now, talk about, everybody has their constraints. Some of the constraints back then were, how do you make stuff? The techniques and the methods of manufacturing and design are so much better now, but you still have constraints. What was the hard, tell us a little in layman's terms, designing the F-150 Lightning, cooling the battery packs. What were some of the biggest challenges to make that car deliver what you delivered?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, electrification right now is a pivotal point, right? And some of those constraints were really around, do we have the right level of technology for energy density for the batteries? Do we have the right consumer, mindset in terms of being able to accept it? And particularly with a truck, with an electric truck, it's got to do what a truck needs to do. It's got to be capable and durable, and those were some of the constraints that we really had to work around to make sure that the cooling, the range, all of those things were good enough from a towing perspective, from a hauling perspective, and from a work perspective, in addition to what else can you actually add with electrification for customers that they just don't have today with a gas, and trying to weave that in for the retail customers as well as the commercial customers were really a lot of what we were trying to balance within the vehicle to make it affordable for America.
I mean, I'm going to let you be a fan for a minute. That is the winner of the European Classic Early Open class, Tommy. And you heard the round of applause. Do you like our seats, Linda? We did this just so we'd have the best seats in the house.
You've got the best seats for sure.
As the cars go up, wow, unbelievable. No, that wasn't the winner then. Sorry, that was third in class. And that Bugatti. I mean, what we find is fascinating is the journey these cars have done. Every car has a story.
Absolutely.
And an 80-year-old, 100-year-old story. Can you just imagine that? What we will be driving in 100 years? We can't even think it. I mean, where do you think we'll be?
Oh, I think it's going to be exciting. I mean, I think it's going to be futuristic, and hopefully by then we might even have flying cars.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? No tire friction to worry about.
Absolutely.
It would be remarkable. Obviously, you're a Ford chief designer, but when you walk around, what era of the cars captures you?
For me, I really like the pre-war. I think those vehicles are just beautiful, and they remind me a lot about the TVs and that era that just it seemed very interesting to me. So I think post-war, a lot of it looks very much like what we have today, but pre-war, all of those are just gorgeous to look at, and so much technology, just like you said, for that time frame.
Yeah. Well, seeing as they come around behind us, it really is truly amazing to see. The setting here, this is your first Pebble Beach.
Yes, it is.
I know that. I was talking with Jim Farley earlier, who's a veteran now.
Yes, he
and it was, very encouraging of you getting on our show, I must say. Anything to get him off here, I think.
Talk a little bit about having a leader. Obviously, you don't probably report directly to Jim, but having a leader of the company that is so knowledgeable and so in love with the industry, the racing, the heritage, and so forth. What kind of direction does he give you? You're going into new territory, but it has to still resonate with all the things that what is a Ford.
Yes, absolutely. I think, Jim is very visionary. He's really helpful at helping us kind of think through what it is that customers will want on the road, and also what's coming at us from a constraint perspective or from a risk perspective, and thinking about all of that and just making sure that we optimize what we've got and also minimize those risks. So I think with his history, just like you said, his racing career as well as just his love for cars, he's a wonderful leader.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Linda, we couldn't be more honored to have you on the show. Enjoy the rest of your day. Your duties are done. Enjoy it. We're going to continue watching the cars. As one of our favorites, Tommy, just won the class, I think.
That was not one of our picks, but they had a bodied Bentley, 4.5 liter, won the J class. So one of the few Vandenplas bodied 4.5 liter cars that had some running boards set into the center of the wheel hub. So, but now that's past history because we are now on to the next category.
Yeah.
The Griffin brothers founded in 1555. Originally served as coach builder for Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth. They created their first car body in 1919. Stay there, ladies and gentlemen. Never mind, I'll move right along. This car includes onboard telecontrol and adjustable shock system, which was dash mounted. Built on scissor jacks with a first aid kit, and just in case you need it, a fire extinguisher. Thank you so much for bringing the Railton today, and my apologies for calling it a Bugatti. How disgusting. Second in class European classic clothes is the 1930 Bentley Speed 6 Martin Walter Sports Saloon, owned by William Metcalf of Hillbrow in the United Kingdom.
Well, in the the European closed category, J3, this 1930 Bentley Speed 6 Martin Walter Sports Saloon, second place.
By the coach builder Martin Walter.
This is owned by William Metcalf from Hillbrow, England.
I've got to say, Tommy, there was a very unique sight a minute ago when the previous car left the block out of the sunroof, which was a sight that was not even in concept, even in wildest magazines. A hand with an iPhone sticking through the sunroof, taking in the shot. It was so sort of bizarre and incongruous as it went around the corner. But that's what this is. These cars, the history they've seen, the places, the people, they really, if they could talk, they are the history of the world.
And that's what I love. That's what I love about these cars is some of the stories are outrageous, and this is one of your picks, JB.
Oh,
and this
my
story sums that up. Where, I mean, look at the shape. I mean, Linda mentioned the aerodynamic study. They didn't have really wind tunnels then, so they were kind of guessing what was. They would study things in nature. There was some aerospace or airplane stuff. The shape of bombers and belly tanks and so forth. But this Talbot Lago 150 Fagoni and Falaschi teardrop coupe, you can see why it's called a teardrop coupe. But Justin told you that this car, it was built in 37. The owner from New York says, you know what, I'll just run it up to Watkins Glen and I'll race it in the Grand Prix. Finishes 11th. And so, needless to say, that doesn't happen anymore, but just the romance of that kind of a thing is so special. And those are the kind of things that win judges over. I mean, it's gorgeous to look at, but the story is sometimes the tiebreaker.
Well, that is a perfect time to bring on our next guest. I have to say, Jay Ward of Pixar fame, as we call it, is joining us here. That was the right time to join because that
was a character.
That was a character.
Not just Pixar fame, Cars Pixar.
Well, they did a little film called Cars that had cars in it. You may have seen it.
And that's your actual JOB?
Yes, exactly. I do help work on the Cars franchise. That's kind of my specialty. As a car guy and a Cars guy, yes.
That was a character and a cartoon in itself, almost.
Yeah, what's really great is when you see cars with character. And there's certain cars that have so much character to them. When you see a Talbot Lago or you see a Delage or a Delahaye, you go, it's like a living character rolling down the road.
And do you know what I love? As that car just came by, I could imagine drawing those. I mean, it made me want to draw those lines, right? There were two beautiful lines on the side, and I don't good design.
Oh, I've seen your
makes
drawings.
You've seen my drawings.
I've seen your drawings.
We have done that.
We've done this. I've seen your artwork.
Pretty special stuff.
Fantastic drawings.
Well,
Fantastic.
Jay, let's talk about what class is coming now, Tommy? This is the L1
They jumped out of order a little bit, so let's see if we can not embarrass ourselves.
Well, Jay, your duties for the day are done.
2 classes, and the reason you skip is sometimes they don't fire up.
Well, I'll carry on with you a second, Jay.
Sure.
Judging today.
Yes.
When I walked around, I wouldn't have known where to start.
Yeah, you know, I will say I've had a few people remark on this. I think this has been a very high water year. There's been some fantastic stuff here this year. I mean, 100 Year of Lincoln, Talbot Lago, the pre-war and post-war preservation classes were, I mean, incredibly good. We have hot rods back, which I got to judge hot rods with Ken Gross, the master of hot rods.
Yeah.
So it's been a win-win day for me all the way around.
There's so many questions that can follow off that. When does a preservation car win Best in Show? Because some of those, they're certainly not as shiny and as pretty. But
right. The stories, the history, the provenance.
A 1910 car, this wasn't even preservation, a 1910 car with the original interior?
Right, so you're talking 111 years old, 112 years old, driving around. And here, and I mean, this is the thing we all know about Pebble Beach. You'll see things here you just won't see anywhere else in the world ever again, and I love that about the show.
That is the brilliance of the selection committee and the curation of the classes. But we're starting to learn there's so much more involved. You can't bring your car in within 10 years of its next entry.
That's right.
So if you've got the right Lincoln, you've got to think about it.
That's right. Yeah, no, because that is your shot. You've had your shot.
And you've got to maybe acquire a car that wasn't there before. I mean, as in you never had the chance to.
And then wait for your class to come up again. Absolutely. So I judged hot rods today with Ken Gross, and I mean, think about it's hard to judge hot rods. It's a customized car. It's not an original factory car. So you're looking at a few things of, did it race at Bonneville? Did it race at El Mirage? Was it built in the 40s, the 50s, or did somebody put it together later on? How much of it's still left? Is it the original hot rod frame? So just really fun cars to judge.
Yeah, I mean, the 32 Ford is, some heavy owners. I mean, some of the heaviest car people we know are in that 32 hot rod.
As you know, Bruce Meyer, who kind of helped get the class here in the first place, brought the Bob McGee Roadster, which is probably the most iconic 32, one of all time. It's on a U.S. postage stamp. Ross Myers, who won with the Kooky car a few years ago, is back again with another fabulous car.
I mean, it's Lincoln.
Yes, exactly, and he just won with the car. So this, I mean, you're right. Heavy hitters with the hot rod class. Not derelicts, as you might think.
Well, I'm not looking at you. Do you look at me when you said derelict?
Well, I know what you're thinking.
I did go there, only because you slammed my drawing so badly.
That beautiful Hispana Suiza wins the L1 class.
Did you see that Hispana Suiza have their modern day supercar?
No.
Yeah. Have you seen their supercar?
I have the purple car. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
It's a character, but I don't know what kind of character. It's a busy character.
Do you know what? I think they would live in Beverly Hills and have very loud clothing.
Yes, I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Some pretty stuff.
We have the Talbot Grand Sport class, which is one of the featured classes going right now.
Fantastic cars. You know, I mean, look how fresh and clean that design is. If only they could make a new car look just like that.
I was going to say, why don't they?
You got two big things. One is safety, and the other is engineering. You got crash barriers and airbags and all these things. I've talked to a lot of designers too, and they say, we never want to go backwards. But I mean, that's elegance. If I had that, even with an EV drivetrain, I hate to say it, I would drive it at the grocery store, sure.
That is going to be a segue into something we talked about the other night, which is the special car you guys just built. And you had a one-off car, one-of-one car, that dealing with the Germans, they like to say this is not possible.
It's not possible. No, it's not possible. Actually, I have to give full credit to Porsche. Because
it was possible.
It was all possible what we did. A, because it was for great charities, and B, because there's a love of the character Sally Carrera from Cars. Porsche 996, we built a brand new 992 Carrera GTS. A lot of one-of-one options, there it is. And there's the original Sally we built for the film back in 2006, and then the new Sally 992. We were hoping, I was hoping this car would maybe get to 600,000 or 700,000, would have been great. The car sold last night for 3.6 million, plus commissions, almost $4 million, all going to both Girls Inc. and Ukrainian refugees. So great charities, great cause, and really the power of Sally Carrera and cars came out last night.
Really, the ongoing story of the power of pop culture in propelling certain cars, movie stars, whoever,
Absolutely.
but the vehicles themselves to these levels.
Steve McQueen kind of thing.
Le Mans, I mean, Grand Prix, James Garner, I mean, he's done a lot. But in the case of cars, I'm not sure that a vehicle, I mean, the Batmobile.
Sure.
You know, was, I mean...
Iconic cars, DB5, iconic. But yeah, for a young kid, Lightning McQueen, between ages 2 and 6 especially, that is their jam. He is their James Bond.
Wow. And look at this, the Class K winner, Tommy.
And you see Merle Mullen behind the wheel, who is as glamorous and elegant as the car she's driving from the Mullen collection. And oh my, this was the only car, the last 2.8 liter chassis to leave the Talbot factory. It is the only Talbot Lago Grand Sport to get its first body by an Italian coach builder. This was done by Stabilimente Farina.
Look at that.
And I love the fact she drives her car.
Don't you just love that?
Yeah.
My God.
Peter and Merle Mullen are just amazing people and amazing ambassadors for the hobby. They really are.
I've got to say, Peter, if you're watching, because I know you're not here, you are missed by all your friends. And I hate to say I have a crush on your wife.
It's easy to do because
we all have a crush on your wife.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, we do wish Peter the best as well.
Yeah, totally. So with Ferrari Grand Touring, I mean, this is a sexy class. And I walk by there now. I'm a big everybody's a fan of Ferrari. Someone said that yesterday. Everybody, like in Formula One, every other driver, even though they want their car to win, also always wants a Ferrari to win.
Yeah, and you've been to Monza. When Ferrari even smells the podium, the crowd goes mental, the tifosi. And that love of Ferrari, it's like you can talk to a non-car person and you can say the word Ferrari and they know what that car is.
Yeah. And when you walk the line of those cars, all these cars are beautiful, but there's something about you almost get like short of breath. It's just like what is it?
They're sexy on a different level. They imply motion. They're emotional cars. I think they really are. You get emotional looking at them, and they look so good, and they sound so good.
I mean, I think the other thing when you look at the GT cars, because I'm a particular fan of Ferrari GT cars, you know, Enzo always said that his road cars should be the ones that got raced.
That's
the
right.
Formula One was actually almost a different element of it.
That's right.
Because he didn't make Formula One cars to the road. The GT cars, I mean, just look at this. This is absolutely stunning. A 1948 166 MMM Touring Barchetta.
Yeah, this is, I mean, if you think of it, this is 1948. This is the earliest days of Ferrari, post-war.
Yeah.
Italy was in shambles. And the fact that he was able to make this car in that time period in Italy when everything was decimated is unbelievable. And literally, this is the birth of the Marquis right here.
Yeah.
Super Leggera, super light. This is our friend. Oh, actually, well, this is my thing is backwards here. Our graphic might be wrong there. I have this car as owned by Anne Brockington Lee.
Well, you'll be able to tell.
Anne driving in the passenger
Yeah, exactly. That's the question. She
So,
sure is.
Yeah, so our graphic was wrong there. Apologize for that. But you think because Enzo, Scuderia Ferrari, used to run Alfas.
That's right. He raced for Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
And early days of Ferrari, he really was looking to make street legal racing cars.
Yeah.
He always was racing first. He sold road cars to fund the racing.
Right.
Yeah, he really did. Now, that is our winner, Tommy, I believe.
1967 Ferrari 330 GTC. I guess you guys can read. I don't know if I need to read off exactly what's on the screen, but this is owned by Peter Kalikoff from New York. This was, again, Carrozzeria Pininfarina. Just 4 of its 330 GTC special cars were bodied by Pininfarina based on the 330 GTC Gran Turismo platform. And so, like you said, sexy and fast, great sounding, and rare.
this was also an interesting moment in their design. The angles started coming and the curves started to slide, and that sharper rear deck lid, you know, it comes down off the rear pillar there, right? It's slightly different.
It is. You know what you're going into is an era of the muscle car, in a lot of ways, the European muscle car.
Yeah.
Right? It was about the long bonnet. It was about big strength in the front, short deck lids. And you're right, angularity to say brute strength as opposed to, I don't know, 60s I'm more of a fan of. Like a GT Lusso is what gets my heart pumping because I love the elegant curves. And you're right, they're a little bit more brutish in this era.
Yeah. Wow.
Whoa. This is not from Ferrari. I'm pretty sure this is not a Ferrari. Not 100% sure. No.
I don't think Enzo would have choked on his Tagliatelle if he had looked at this.
I think somebody was playing lawn darts and they got a little excited and they ended up making the super dart, the super lawn dart. Isn't that wild that something like this, and by the way, this has got Italian design, it's a Ghia.
Yeah.
But that something like this could be this marriage between the Italians and the Americans and come up with something so crazy.
This was made for the 1957 Turin Auto Show. Had a 392 Hemi engine, a Highway Hi-Fi record player.
Now that's the coolest thing about it because the Chryslers that had the record players, if you ever seen one, it plays 45s and they're upside down.
Yeah.
And the reason why they didn't want the needle to skip when you went down the road, so the needle pushes up into the record and it stays locked in. It's the coolest thing that you could play 45s in your car in the 50s.
Just look at it glide past. But
Wow.
I have this vision of the Italian and the American went out for a boozy night, were meeting the board the next day, and they said, "Ta-da! This is our project."
I can see that. What do Americans like? They like tail fins. Okay, let's give them tail fins. What is it? They love chrome. All right, let's give them chrome. Lots of chrome.
It's so funny. And now it's a little more subdued, and it's probably more fitting for the era, but Tommy,
So these are the preservation class cars that we were talking about. This one, obviously, it's a big Lincoln year. The Lincoln Continental was developed as a series of luxury automobiles because Edsel Ford had a desire for personal vacation cars.
Yeah, he was really
appropriate for touring the continent.
That's right,
Continental.
and that's the thing. He really took influence from Europe. His head of design was a guy named Bob Gregory, E.T. Bob Gregory, who used to do speedboat design. And the two of them made some dynamite cars. They really did. Bob Gregory is one of my favorite designers of that era. When you look at this, think about this. If this is preservation, then you're looking at paint from 1948. You're looking at a convertible top from 1948. You're looking at chrome plating from 1948. That means that car never got hit, it never got damaged, and there it is.
They obviously had a wife like mine that won't let me eat a crumb in her car.
You're right. You put that in perspective.
Yeah.
We can't keep anything for 10 years nowadays.
No.
We live in a disposable world where it's gone.
Yeah, and what did it take the foresight for somebody to take care of that car, not to treat it like a disposable thing?
In an era where, decades where collecting was not a thing.
You're absolutely
like
right.
to say, oh, we collect cars. No, you didn't collect cars back then. You just happened to not sell them.
Obviously somebody with money bought that car and took care of it, and that was the other thing is normally by the 60s or 70s that car hit the bottom of its value and it got sold to a teenager and bashed into, and yet somebody realized a classic and held on to it.
Well,
Tommy, you got to jump.
How you top that? Go ahead.
God, I mean, now we go to the other end. I mean, you could fit 3 of these 904s into the space of one of those Lincolns back there. What do you think when you look at this? Just iconic to the brand Porsche.
What blows me away is that's an original paint car and it's so shiny. It looks like it was painted last week.
Yeah. This Dr. Nicholas Begovic ordered this homologated street version of the 904 from Stuttgart, picked it up in '94, drove it around Germany and then Nürburgring, and then he had it until he drove it to the 50th Pebble.
He did.
And then when he passed away, he left it to the Cal State Fullerton Museum.
He did.
Nick Shores from Audrain bought his whole collection because they said you can't just cherry pick that car to get that car, and now they won.
I think it was $10 million, right, for the whole collection, something like that. It was a significant amount of money, but everything Nick had was perfect. Or not Nick Shores, but what was his name, Dr. Baglovich?
3,000 on that, 3,000 kilometers on that car.
Original mileage.
I would have bought the collection just for 904 too.
Well, if you have a spare $10 million, well, let's make that happen.
No, I'm gonna write a really cool TV movie.
Best of luck on that.
Yeah, really good.
I hope that works out.
It's called Feet.
called feet. I love your drawing, so I know it'll be a smash hit.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, really, a lot of design involved.
I can't wait to see the feet drawings coming
exactly.
next.
Well, as for that, you're gonna say that title.
Okay, this is the Bugatti Type 57 Gangloff Stelvio.
Okay.
Stelvio.
For what reason?
Gangloff.
Have you driven that road? The Stelvio Pass?
The Stelvio Pass is a lot of lefts and a lot of rights.
And I tell you what, I don't know, would I have wanted to take that down, the Stelvio Pass?
That's
No.
you might get the shortcut, the Stelvio Cliff.
I would have taken it up the hill, but not down.
Now, Gangloff must have been I'm guessing this would be a design firm or a body firm. It's stunning.
So what are we looking at now, Tommy? I mean, this Hispano Suiza in second place.
This is a 12-cylinder Hispano Suiza, was delivered in 1933 to New York real estate magnate Robert Walton Goulet of Paris and Chateau de Sandricourt en Blanville, France.
Well, you butchered French nicely there, TK, but we'll roll with it.
I felt my pinky finger coming out the more he talked. I could just see it rising.
Is that Steve in the car?
And that is a big win for our chief honorary judge.
Second.
Second place. Stephen Brower, our chief honorary judge, who obviously he's a longtime entrant here, and also an honorary judge.
Fantastic cars.
What a stunning car.
I mean, the hits keep coming.
The hits do keep coming.
Horsch. Now, this is a great German firm for you guys who know Audi. There were 4 rings for Audi, and it was DKW, a brand called Wanderer, Auto Union, and Horsch. And those 4 rings came together to form Audi. Yeah, so this is pre-Audi Audi.
Wow.
The Horsch.
What? Every time I come here, I sort of premeditate. Oh, I'm going to look at my favorite class, my favorite era. I don't think it exists anymore.
It's impossible. What I really love is not knowing anything and walking in cold, and then you just look, and you can get lost for hours.
Yeah.
Oh, look what's coming up soon.
Oh.
So the story on this car is unreal. It was a textile merchant in the Netherlands had it. During the occupation, the car was confiscated. And when the war ended, the army tried to take the car, and they said, leave the car, walk home to Germany.
And this was really common. It's hard to understand. Big luxury cars from the 30s in Germany are the hardest cars to find. Think about what was going on in Europe, obviously. You had to hide your car in a barn and
otherwise it was stripped for the metal.
Totally gone, or it was confiscated and used by the military and you never got it back.
Wow.
So stunning that it survived.
I can actually see the military driving that.
I could see that. I'm not going to make a joke right now.
No, mate, they dress well.
I'll just say that, and they know how to make good right turns. If you call your Horsch dealer, nobody picks up the phone, so I don't know where you get parts for this thing to do something like that.
Unbelievable. Well, we're going to say goodbye to Jay now because his beautiful bride is over there. 2 children making their Pebble debut.
That's correct. Brought the kids for the first time, and they're having a wonderful time. The only person my son wanted to meet, McKeel Haggerty. Why? Because my son plays Gran Turismo. McKeel unlocks the garage when you play Gran Turismo. So to him, this is the coolest guy in the world. He has the Haggerty garage in Gran Turismo. So yes, it works. Video games do work.
I thought you were about to say Kazunori-san from...
That's who's next.
That's who's next. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's so great spending time with you guys.
Wow.
Enjoy. You got some great cars to talk about.
We have some really big, impressive cars coming up with Ferrari. You can now go and tour the field again, have a drink. Thank you, Jay.
Now here's a little on-field drama. We've seen it before, but to win your class at Pebble, well, this is you have to drive across the stage, and
this looks like the grid of the road races here. If we could transport ourselves back to the beginning of the history of Pebble Beach.
That's the second.
My goodness, look at these cars.
I think.
A little bit of drama down there, Tommy. You are absolutely right.
Wow, look at this. That is a Ferrari GTO, one of 2 on the field, 3rd in class in Ferrari competition. So this was one of ours. We're like, everyone seems to agree that a GTO will win best in show at Pebble some year. Obviously, it won't be this one this year. A stunning car just out of restoration by Paul Russell, who we'll be speaking to later on today. Series 2. This was the only Series 2 made by Ferrari. And then it was bodied later by Scaglietti.
Jay was so right, though, Tommy. There's something about these Ferraris, the design. They do appeal to everybody on a very visceral and emotional level, which was the key to these cars. And, you know, imagined, created, propelled by the passion and design of one man and the team he put together. For all the ups and downs of the Ferrari legacy, in a way, this is a very special moment to see come across.
That bodywork on that car.
All right, well, I thought our job was going to be sweaty today. Pushing, look at that.
So it's being pushed onto the ramp. This is, as you see, the 340 Super America Vignale Berlinetta. Jack and Kingsley Gruel from Corona del Mar, California. Carrozzeria Vignale built 4 340 America Berlinettas, and this was the first to be completed. What we're told is if this had been the class winner, you have to drive across the ramp or they do not give you the trophy, and you're given 2 classes. Once you try to start and can't, you're giving 2 classes time to, it's a little bit like the 5-minute rule in NASCAR before you have to go behind the wall, but you have 2 classes to try to get it running and to get it across the ramp, or you give up your best in class. So it doesn't apply here because the best in class was actually this car. Look at that. Not Ferrari red, but pretty darn spectacular in yellow.
Finally, the sun has come out today. This Ferrari 410S is one of the most powerful racing cars built in the 1950s. Designed to participate in the 1955 Carrera Panamericana road race and powered by Ferrari's most competitive engine at the time, the 4.9-litre V12 twin spark plug Manfredi, producing.
Tommy, that car is, I mean, I don't know what to say. Yellow Ferraris. I almost bought a yellow Dino once. I just didn't have the money, but I almost bought a yellow Dino.
How much was the Dino at that time?
It was £8,000, and my dad told me I shouldn't bother with the Dino. But look at that.
Wow.
That, I mean, that's...
This car has racing history at Nassau, Panama, Daytona. It was supposed to race at the Carrera Panamericana, but that was canceled in '55. Raced in the Buenos Aires 1,000 km instead.
Well, that was a wonderful way. Bright of sunshine. It matched my suit almost as the Ferrari leads off and our next class begins. Let's hear very quickly from our sponsors, WeatherTech and Haggerty.
Hon, you've got to see this. The WeatherTech's here.
Wow, that was fast.
WeatherTech is the ultimate protection for your vehicle. Laser measured floor liners, no drill mud flaps, cargo liner, bump step, seat protector, and cup phone. WeatherTech.
From Switzerland. He does enjoy his cars, and we really enjoy seeing them here today. Oh, yes, indeed. This is the
Alfa Romeo 1933 Branzia Monza. Do you know what? This, though, appeals as a racing driver. Don't you find yourself naturally gravitating to these single-seater? I mean, not single-seaters. You had your wingman with you, but effectively ushering in the single-seater era. These cars are just spectacular.
This is all Alpha 8Cs. And the winner in the Alpha 8C class, wow, look at that, full-blown race car, owned by the Origa Collection 8C 2300 Monza. It was built ahead of the 1933 season. Most likely it's sold new to a French racer. Campaigned a variety of events. Full-blown Grand Prix Alpha 8C.
It looks so delicate compared to the Alpha that we just saw before. You know, this has a fragility to it, but as it comes by, and these things, I reckon that if you got that on the track in historic racing, you would be in these glorious non-stopping slides, just on those skinny little tires, all that feedback. What a competitive part of the year. Okay, so the post-war racing. Now this gets a pretty sporty, this class, TK.
Yeah, so we have, okay, now this is a talked about car. Obviously, Bob Ingram, no stranger to winning his class here at Pebble Beach. And his son, Cam, has become the preeminent Porsche restorer in the world, perhaps, or one of, at his Rhodes Scholars outfit. And so father-son team, separate entities, but the father brings the cars to Rhodes Scholars, and the attention to detail focus on this car was restoring it authentic, not over-restoring. So some of the paint finishes, they've had to reblend paints to have the exact right amount of luster, all those things. So another class placing for Bob Ingram, who's, when you hear the applause, I'm never sure if it's for the car or Bob. Bob is one of the all-time gentlemen and most gracious people I've ever met, and that is Cam and Bob going across the block.
I saw Erin Shelby out at the Quail, which was rather lovely, and in second place coming up is this gorgeous 1963 team race car, Tommy.
Well, not just, this is the first Cobra race car to win a race. So, I mean, you want to talk about significance in terms of early Shelby, early Cobra. This car won the first race, and it was also the winner of the first USRRC race overall, first class win and first overall win. Helped secure the championship in 1963. So, I mean, an absolutely, arguably priceless, one of the most significant Cobras ever, owned by Peter Kloot, legendary motorcar company out of Halton Hills, Canada.
Let's just lay out and listen to this as it comes off. You know what, Tommy? I am all about our future, but I get a little excited about our past. When I see and feel that, I mean, I didn't even have to turn around to know that that was the engine, the vibrations coming off that car. That is a visceral experience. Remember, no safety to speak of, probably no seatbelts at the time. Just these cars had a connection, especially in race form, when they took off whatever restrictions they had in place, and that's what you had.
I mean, it's hard to win in any era, but think about there, it was just literally a small group of guys, and they were kind of winging it in terms of eyeballing stuff. None of the CAD, none of the sensors, none of the data acquisition. And I was wondering, what is it that's going to beat that Cobra? Well, here's our answer: a 1953 Aston DB3RS race car, the fifth of 31 examples built. So the private use of the company's owner, David Brown, the owner of Aston Martin back in the day.
You know, I met David Brown. In Coventry, Dad was doing something, driving around the streets of Coventry. I sat next to an elderly David Brown at the time. He had a cigarette lighter in his dinner, and a lady, I didn't know he did, a lady wanted to smoke outside. He produced a cigarette lighter and lit her cigarette, and I went, "Oh, do you smoke?" And he said, "I haven't smoked for 50 years, but a gentleman should always be prepared for when a woman would like to."
Well, that gentleman
stuck with me, by the way.
Of course it did. Taking notes. Well, he also knew how to race. He gave that car to John Wyer, who was the head of the competition department, and had wins by Sterling Moss, Peter Collins, Roy Salvadori at places like Spa, the Nürburgring, and the Mille Miglia.
So post-war touring open. This is as soon as you open literally, I mean, as soon as you see this with the cars, it changes the lines of these cars so dramatically, and either you're a convertible person, you're an open person, or you're not, right?
100%. This is a Frua-bodied car. There's 2 Frua-bodied cars in this class. Last year, remember that red Maserati Frua Coupe, A6 Coupe, that made it to the Final Four? Jonathan Siegel's car, he has the other Frua-bodied car in this class. So this is the car owned by Brendan Gallagher. And so we're going to see a contrast with, oh, and there is the Jonathan Siegel car in runner-up in this class, with basically the Spider version of the car pretty much that he had last year. Also Frua-bodied car.
We were hoping he was going to win. As you watched the show last year, do you remember that very uncharacteristic for Pebble Beach yell?
He gets out
shout.
for
He
his
still does it.
ceremonial salute to the crowd, cigar in hand. He is a passionate, enthusiastic, flamboyant owner, but what taste. Look at these. Every car he brings is an absolute stunner.
The paint on this, Tommy, I got up close earlier. The paint is like just liquid. It's so beautiful.
And that car came out of the paint booth about 3 weeks ago. If you follow Jonathan on Instagram, he's an architect out of San Diego, does incredible work in his day job. But that car came out of paint about 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
And a good.
So that means that is our winner.
That is something else. The car that sent the Frua Spider off, and this car will go to the winner's circle. Apollo 3500 GT, Dennis and Susan Garrity. And someone, our next guest that just joined us on stage, can tell us a little bit something about this this kind of car, and if he thinks that's an upset, this car beating that Frua Spider. We'd like to bring on Paul Russell, who is one of the more meticulous, knowledgeable people in this world. Two amazing Ferraris on the field. Welcome, Paul, and I guess jump right into what you just saw right there with this Apollo versus the Maserati.
The Apollo
beating the Maserati.
I think, part of it is that, who knows about Apollo? I mean, it's a great opportunity to educate the public and see something you've never seen, and where else but Pebble Beach would you see that, and the Apollo and then the many other design studies that we see is just all part of this fabulous show.
One of the things that we were excited to get you up here for was, do you look at the cars out there over the years with an eye, I know you do, completely different to the rest of us, because you know the process they must have undergone, you knew the challenges. I mean, some of these cars, when you get them, it's a disaster area, right? And you have to get them ready for Pebble Beach. That's a long process.
It's a long process that starts before you ever really touch the car. With the research of the provenance of the car and the ownership history, and then going back to original documentation. And you take that and then figure out, well, what is the point in time in the car's history? With a competition car, it could be many different configurations. Or, with a coach-built car or something, typically you would pick the day it was born.
Okay.
But finding out what that is and all the little nuances of the period and stuff is part of the process that begins before you actually
even start working.
Take paint off it.
You must like it all, but which part of it, the process, do you find you enjoy the most?
For me, I started as a mechanic, and I love the last part of the process where it all comes together, but then you start driving and using the car, and it's important to us that they're not just pretty to look at, that they actually work and function like automobiles and as they were originally intended. So that last process, which involved driving the car for 250 miles, and typically that's done by the crew chief on the project, and we come back with a punch list and we keep on working on it till there's no more punch list, and then it's my turn, and sometimes I'm getting ready to be the final answer, and I get the eye roll in the shop, it's like, oh geez, so I come back with my list, but it's an important part of the process to really finish it and make it just right.
So it's part mechanic, part designer, because you have to, and part anthropologist in a way.
very much so anthropology, you know,
Really?
digging and studying photographs. And it's really fascinating that you accumulate all this data and then you have a number of things you're looking for and you analyze it. And then you might be looking at the same image, for instance, or a document 3 months later, and there's something new there. But you were focusing on that over there, and you never picked it up. So.
I want to also think about the race cars, because you said it's a moment in time. What was the moment in time for a race car? I mean, when they won Le Mans, yeah, that's probably the moment in time, or a Grand Prix. But so many race cars, well, every race car, Tommy, evolves. Every time we get in it, we want to make it fast. And at the time, they weren't collectible. We just wanted to make them, so you cut another hole, right? You add on another louver.
So that's where it comes a collaboration with the owner of what their feeling is about the car, why they bought it, and that helps, you know, define the point in time. But with a competition car, it frequently is its best day, you know, and that may be when it was nearly new and not yet modified a lot, or it may be later in its career. And, you know, we an example of that is we had an experience doing a GT40, a Mark I GT40 that ran with Jochen Rindt and Innes Ireland at Le Mans. And then it stayed in the UK and was always a race car in the UK. Fortunately, never really heavily damaged, so the tub and all of that was in good condition. But it had the wheels changed so they could put on bigger brakes, which meant bigger tires and wheels and flared fenders and these other modifications. And we were returning it back to its Le Mans configuration. And so we were calling some of the people in England that had been, you know, had careers working with GT40s, and we're asking them, do you have this wiper motor, and do you have that fuel pump, and this Triplaflex fuel line and all this? And they go, what do you want all that old junk for? You know, because we want to, you know, back it up and turn the hands of time backwards.
So. I've got to ask, maybe I shouldn't. We just saw some spectacular preservation class cars. That's a bit like dentists solving dental problems for the rest of life. Doesn't do much for your business, but you can appreciate. Oh
no, that's it
What
does
is that?
a tremendous amount for my business.
Really?
Because that's the document. That's a living document.
Okay.
And we want to study those cars, and I don't want to erase that history. There's plenty of cars to restore.
Yeah.
And no, when we see a preservation car, it's critical to save it and keep it, because that's the real deal. That's not me interpreting anything. That's not me looking at a picture and say, well, I know A and I know C. Let me just interpret B.
The Tripostri,
No, it's the real thing.
the Tripostri was not a restoration, was it, that you brought last year?
That's correct.
Yeah. So you, ton of work to not restoring one.
Yes, and that had a few changes made just by having the car serviced over the years and everything. And they changed some wear items like the carpet, and we undid all of that and put it back to the way it was at the Paris and Los Angeles motor shows.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for joining us. Tommy is the winner of that class. The next class is being announced. The grabber coach work early. These are beautiful cars. Thank you so much, Paul. It was great having you here, and we will get you back next year because you make us look smart.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Good
Okay.
luck. Thank you.
My favorite Duesenberg in the whole wide world. It's a wonderful car. It was delivered to its
Well. The cream rises to the top. A lot of the heavyweights have gone through into the winner's circle. Some of the big winners that win a lot here. And this is another example. This is one of our special classes, the Graber body class. But look at the name, Sam and Emily Mann, who have this, look at that, 1930 Duesenberg. Again, when you had a couple of those favorites drop out, this is one that I saw in the field, and I'm like, special class, Sam Mann, he knows what it takes. A Duesenberg. This one, I have to think, will be getting a bunch of second looks down in the winner's circle. Look at that car.
In England, I think we still lived in mud huts. It felt like in 1930, and you had these on the road.
Two-tone blue.
Look at that chrome. Wow.
And now we're getting into Graber coach work late. And Graber was a really interesting coach, because a lot of the coach builders you saw in the pre-war era were one thing, but Graber spanned a pretty long time. You saw that last car, the Sam Mann car, was an early Graber. Look at this. And what Graber was known for was being able to kind of do it all. He could do the French stuff, he could meld styles that the owners wanted in a way that was kind of understated and elegant. But it's just like, he's not a one-trick pony. He didn't have one look that he could do.
This car next appeared in the mid-1970s, purchased by the very famous Chris Collector.
I've always thought to myself, Tommy, that I really should have a DB. Whichever one I could go for.
Maybe a Graber drop head coupe.
Yeah, I think that's probably my style. I don't know. Yes.
In second place, it's the 1961 Elvis TD21 Graber Speciale Coupe, owned by Ken Swanstrom of Doylestown, Pennsylvania. This TD21 Elvis was shipped as a bare chassis from where it was built in Coventry to Switzerland and Hermann Graber factory in 1961. And this combination of Graber coachwork and a British Elvis chassis is very, very successful. Elvis TD21 were often employed by Park Ward, but the Graber coachwork, I think, makes the Elvis such a spectacular.
So here we have the second place Graber car. And look at how different this car is. I mean, kind of like Paul Russell said, Elvis having a moment here because of the Graber specialty class, dramatically different, and we're about to see the winner. And right after we get a glimpse of that winner, we are going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to check out a feature, because coming up soon are the Le Mans classes that we've been anticipating so highly.
This car was the 1950 Le Mans winner, overall winner, driven by Rossier and his son. Rossier drove it for about 23 and a half hours. So these were men when they drove these cars in those days.
I always feel these cars are like time capsules, right? And you can imagine him jumping in, but no one was aware of the danger at that time. You just did what you did. Is it tough to drive, or did they, even engineering-wise, get it spot on back in the day?
It was a lot of work to drive a car like this for that long. But once you're on the road, the steering's fairly light.
Yeah.
And I don't think it is tough to drive. And it has, the gearbox is called a Wilson pre-selector, which basically means you pre-select the gear you want for the next turn. And there's a pedal, which is like a clutch pedal. Yeah. And you're not in that gear until you depress the pedal.
So the minute you touch the clutch?
Well, you bring it down.
Bring it down.
And then you're in that gear. In the day, I think this was quite a good transmission for racing.
What was it about this car? I mean, obviously it won Le Mans, but as you look at it, what do you love about it?
I like the appearance, I like the style.
Yeah.
I think it's a very nice looking car, handsome car. And obviously it's history, and it's fun to drive.
Yeah. God, it's lovely. I love it. We're on the original Pebble Beach road course. Can you imagine what it was like racing in the day?
Must have been amazing, huh?
Must have been amazing. From a safety point of view, the thought of putting a seatbelt in a car was crazy. They didn't really know any better, right? I mean, brave men and pioneers, really. Especially in your position as a judge, how do you draw the line with race cars on where they are at their moment in history?
Well, I think bodies and race cars are destroyed all the time. They're changed. They go back to original in many cases. And I think if a car is on the lawn where the body had to be replaced because something happened to it, but it's exactly as it was originally built, I think that's fine. I think that's an original car if the chassis and the engine and the rest of the car is original. But for me, it's about driving the cars. Yeah. I much more enjoy driving the cars. I like to look at them too, but I'd rather drive them.
Wow, well, that is spectacular. The winner of the class is my pick. David Menil's 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO. absolutely remarkable in his Le Mans spec. If you can look on the front lights there, you can see he had to source 1960s duct tape to fit on the front. I would like to make a quick mention at the end of the feature of me driving that 1950 Le Mans winning Talbot. That was the opinion, obviously, on judging of the owner, and not actually at Pebble Beach. Everyone has their own viewpoint. But look at that, the McNeil's riding off. I think, Tommy, that's 3 for 3 in our picks. Looks like we know what we're doing.
So it's shaping up for,
Shaping up.
Is it going to be post-war? Is it going to be pre-war? We've got some heavyweights in both. That McNeil car, obviously, was in, Paul Russell said you got to choose the moment in time you want to freeze it to. The Le Mans entry is what they did. That car also won the Tour de France. Wow. And wow, look at this. This is a
Mitch's car, the McCulloch.
Mitch McCulloch's car. A husband-wife both have cars on the field, and these are not billionaires. These are people that love cars, and Mitch has this Alpine M64 coupe. His wife Kim will be has a period hot rod in the 32 Ford class. Look at that beautiful little Alpine.
Wow.
Look at the size of that. He looks like a giant in there.
I don't propose that you buy one of those, Tommy. Could look a little stupid. Wow. Second place, that gorgeous Alfa Romeo we're looking at, Zagato-bodied competition Berlinetta, out in Newport Beach, California. Obviously close to home for both of us.
William Lyon family, who's the General William Lyon, who had the favorite car that got zapped early last year, but what a cool car.
Oh, it just looks right, doesn't it?
Sure does.
You know this handles well. It didn't finish the 1966 Le Mans, but it must have looked pretty good while it was. Oh, this is interesting.
This is very interesting, and that car is, it's hard to argue with that. When I saw that car out there, this is the only 911 based car to ever win overall at Le Mans, the 79 winner owned by Bruce Meyer.
Okay, he's just waving.
And
I just can't believe this.
I'll never forget the time when I followed him down Wilshire Boulevard in this car when he drove it to Luftgekult and didn't seem the slightest bit concerned about the police. He is going to get out.
This is
this is for the photo. They're doing a special photo. Bruce Meyer there.
He was a guest on our show last year. He knows more about collecting cars than anyone else out there, I think, because he does it from the right place in his heart. He also, there are other people with 200 cars in their collection. Bruce has a very particular collection, like he fired with a rifle to get the right cars in his personal hands.
Like Jay said, maybe the most significant 32 Ford Roadster ever, to this, to the winningest Ferrari sports car ever, a Le Mans winning GT1 Corvette. Oh, wow. Kramer K3.
Oh, look at the spoiler.
Icon. And you can see the aluminum roll tubes, the roll cage in there, which are no longer legal. You can actually flex the bars. They're so flimsy. This is the Bugatti Tank Le Mans car that we saw at the announcement the other day, I believe 39. It's such a distinctive car. It's got a headlight on the right side that I pointed out to Tom Christensen that's a apex light.
I think we should just listen right now to Derek.
Those cars truly represent the pinnacle of motor racing
Success. They epitomize speed, stamina, and style. The 2022 Pebble Beach Concours is proud to kick off the centennial year celebrations of the 24-hour of Le Mans. Just yesterday, we unveiled the Centennial Trophy with President of Automobile Club de l'Ouest, Pierre Fillon. Luckily, we have one more Le Mans winning car to honor up on stage. This is the only Bugatti to ever win Le Mans, the 1936 Bugatti Type 57G tank. This car was hidden for many years during the war and is the last of its kind to exist today. We owe its presence here today to a very important person, and we would like to acknowledge him with this year's Lauren Tryon Award. Presenting the Lauren Tryon Award is our chairman, Sandra Button.
Having Fred win the Lauren Tryon means so much to me, and to you, Christina. We'll try to keep it together here. So this car almost embodies your dad. His passion for cars, his foresight to understand which cars to keep original. I think he stays alive with all of us, so I'm so pleased to honor him. He was a judge here at Pebble Beach for 14 years. His wisdom about cars and how to take care of them, the connoisseurship of what they are, you can see it all over the field today. He's a good friend of mine. I lost a lot of sleep off and on because he would ask me very deep questions about what we were going to do to keep these cars alive and well for the next 200 years. So you can imagine, as a brain surgeon, a neurosurgeon, he thought about a lot of things. I want to give the trophy to you, Christina, and thank you for everything you do with the Simeon Foundation and the Automotive Museum. I think you keep your father and his legacy alive, and I'm confident you'll continue to do that in the future. So congratulations. Wonderful. Thank you so much for making sure the car was here. Hold on.
Not him, Christensen.
Everybody else out?
Thank you, Sandra, and congratulations again for the Lauren Tryon Award winners. And just what a gorgeous car. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, and now we're going to join us for a special moment is President of the Automobile Club de l'Ouest, Pierre Fillon, and with him are Le Mans racing legends Tom Christensen, Jackie Ickx, Lynn St. James, Jochen Mass, and Henri Pescarolo. Help me give them a warm welcome. This is real Le Mans 24-hour royalty on stage. Justin Bell, to the ramp, Justin Bell. Of Le Mans legend, descendant, and royalty, Justin Bell.
Well, look at that. I've been left on set because they want Justin Bell, Le Mans class winner in the Viper, to be part of their special moment, as he should be, What a group of folks, and what an amazing honor for the Simeon Foundation. I didn't know Dr. Simeon well. Justin obviously being asked out as for his class win in the Viper. He came close to the overall win in the McLaren with his father. in the Harris McLaren. My man Justin, always downplaying his success and his career. He is good at talking, but a world champion and a Le Mans winner, both of which I cannot say.
Muted, it's perfect.
And he can't talk because he's not plugged back in yet.
Yes, I am. Johnny Lieberman.
Good to see you.
Well, that was rather nice. So, when I heard my name, I'm going, normally that happens, can you move your car, right?
Yes. Could you leave, sir?
Could you leave? You know, that was a very special picture to be a part of, to be there with Jorka Mass and Jackie and Tom Christensen. It was very special. That was, wow.
Well, I posted the picture yesterday of you and I and Tom Christensen, and I said, there's 2 TKs and 1 JB and 10 Le Mans wins, of which I have 0, but he's got 1 and TK has 9.
Well, I prematurely introduced you, which is my way.
That's
but,
fine.
But Johnny Lieberman, a great friend. We have been all over the world together driving incredible cars.
Mostly Sweden, but
Mostly
yes.
Sweden, but sounds good. That's
It
the
does
outside
sound
of the world.
good.
Johnny has been, you've started judging at events around the world. I've seen you do that. One of the leading characters in the Motor Trend journalist lineup, but you're much more than that. You've become a bit of a media sensation right now with the podcast.
I'm doing the Spike's Car Radio. We got a new Motor Trend podcast. 4th in my class at Pikes Peak.
Yeah, I think we should.
If I may.
Which I need to comment on, because when I heard you were going to Pikes Peak, I was like, does Johnny understand about Pikes Peak? Because that is not playing. So way to keep it on the hard stuff, and 4th place. Nice.
4th out of 6, but yeah, you know.
You handled it nicer than I did. What did I call you and say?
You can't repeat it on the air, but he said something about how he's raced Le Mans and Silverstone and Daytona, and Pikes Peak is the, how do you say this nice, is the most dangerous thing I've ever done in my life. On speakerphone with my wife, who's like, wait, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Really good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you survived it.
It was fun. Yeah.
Well, let's talk cars.
Yes.
Pebble Beach.
Yes.
We're obviously with the Auto Voot class right now. It is. We have seen cars this year that, if you're in the judging seat, what?
So, you know, that 250 GTO, the silver one that rolled across a moment. I mean, like, how do you not just declare it the best car in the world and cancel the show?
I know.
But then there's a Talbot Lago, Felonia Felici, same best car in the history of the universe. There's a Voisin that's even better. The 935 that our buddy Bruce owns.
It's like a chorus of angels, really. It just keeps going on.
Your dad's 962.
I know.
Like, and then there was something, I can't remember the name of it. It was a Julian or something. One radial engine car that was a 5-seater. So it had center seating. It had the McLaren F1 here and here. Then it had a seat here and here. And a radial engine, rear brakes. You know, I mean, it's just, if you like cars, I mean, there's nowhere better, there's no place better, there's nothing better than Sunday at Pebble Beach.
Totally. I mean, look.
You know? And then that,
You look at these, and there was a simplicity to design that we never really have experienced in today's world. There's
no regulations back then, you know.
Isn't there no safety requirements?
Yeah, it didn't matter. Although, you know, some of the electrics we're starting to see are getting back to that. They're just new companies. And they don't have any legacy behind them, so they're kind of just free to make it clean, you know. So.
Well, we brought you on specifically because you're a hot rod guy. We can't have Bruce on because he's in this. He could be going for 2 class wins here, Tommy.
Yeah.
Bruce Meyer could be having a shot at 2 class wins, but
that is not a Ciata, but that is our 3rd place in the hot rod.
Yeah,
that is a
Ford.
It's called the Ian Cusi Roadster.
It's interesting. It's actually a 32 Ford class, specifically 32. So if you don't know, what happened was everyone comes back from the war. A lot of them were mechanics in the Army or the Navy or whatever. They knew how to build stuff. Couldn't afford a new car. 32 was the first year Ford put a V8 in a car, and they were really cheap because it was 1945, 46. And by the way, it's a V8, so you could double, triple the horsepower pretty easily. They looked really cool. They were light. They looked cool if you took the fenders off. Lived next to El Mirage. You go to the dry lake bed, 120, 130, 140 miles an hour in that.
Yeah, I mean, and of course it was innovation. It was spare cash. America had not been destroyed.
No one bombed us.
So So I mean, cars like this, it must have been so exciting because
a double podium for the McCulloch family.
McCullochs, woo!
Kim McCulloch in second place. This car was drag raced in the 40s up until the 50s. Sponsored by the Pacific Gun Sight Special.
Oh, that's a very special car.
A good day for Bruce.
Again.
How often does that happen?
Rare.
Now, I've seen this car in the flesh. I think we all have.
Yeah, and his little back cave.
Yeah, I know, in the back cave. It really does sum up. Bruce actually sums up this class as much as it sums up him. Like the spirit of adventure. Let's just do it. I mean, it's like you and I, if we'd been born in the 30s, around 20-year-olds, we'd have said, well, let's try this. Let's put this diff on it.
And again, because nowadays with kids tuning the cars, bigger turbo, bigger this, but they could like hop up the V8, and it was like just something that was easy to do. They were trained well in the war.
Yeah.
They're hanging out in Santa Monica. It's like, and look at that thing.
That was the last class winner, and it really epitomized, even though you don't think of it as Pebble Beach, that car was on the cover of Hot Rod magazine in 1948, one of the very first covers of Hot Rod magazine.
Yeah. And I think they do epitomize Pebble Beach.
We need to get back to the stage for Derek Hill with the charity portion of the program.
For a chance to win one of the 5 cars we're about to give away. Before the fun begins, we want to recognize and thank Chairman of the Pebble Beach Concours, Sandra Button, and CEO of the Pebble Beach Company, David Stivers, for making it a priority that this event has a tremendous and lasting positive impact on the surrounding community. Sandra continues to exceed her giving goal year after year, with all funds being allocated to over 90 charities that focus on youth education, literacy, health, and well-being. This year alone, she has raised over a record $2.6 million for the Pebble Beach Company Foundation, bringing our event's total proceeds for charity to $35 million. Sandra, David, and all participants of our event, this community thanks you for your generosity. Thank you, Sandra and David. Hosting this year's charity drawing with me for the first time is Richard Charlesworth. Richard held many senior positions over his 43-year career with Bentley Motors and now works as an automotive consultant for top collectors and premier events.
Well, while Derek's talking, a little bit remiss of us, we should have introduced Derek Hill, who has been the master of ceremonies behind us. Derek, his father, Phil, actually won the first road race here and the first best of show with the same car, I think, and he drove it over.
It's kind of fitting because he came up in the GTO. He's a racer himself. He's been coming here since he was in his mother's stomach, literally. So they were ahead of schedule. We were caught off guard, so we didn't get to properly introduce.
Anyway, Derek Hill, everybody, right behind us.
But let's recognize $2.6 million this year going to charity. Some people will do 20 years to get 2.6. 2.6 total generated by this event, $35 million.
My last question for you, Johnny.
Yes, sir.
Not that I'm throwing you off, but I am. The show's running fast. Past meets the present. All these EV manufacturers, blank slates, white sheets of paper, if you like, but always hinging in the past. A big year for Pebble Beach with the launches and the reveals.
It's huge. The best way I can say it is that they canceled the Geneva Motor Show, so it's taking place here, and they snuck it in on us. You know what I mean? But this is the Geneva Motor Show and Pebble Beach Car Week, all in one. It's kind of the most exciting year in a while. Really, right? You felt the energy? Like, it's really...
I mean, you can't really explain everything that's going on this week. It's in all the private residence, all the events, and it culminates on Sunday here at Pebble, which is what kicked it all off in the first place.
And it's a particularly good year at Pebble. I mean, they're all good years, but I mean, like I said, I was walking around like,
yeah.
Well, I'm going to let you get back to that wide open mouth. If you don't follow, that sounded so bad. I meant wonder, wide-eyed wonder. Anyway, this is my last time here at Pebble Beach, but thank you for having me. Follow Johnny Lieberman on social media if you want a good time.
Okay, thanks, guys.
You so much.
Tommy, I'll see you later. Oh, that's right.
The 10 freeway, and we were just screaming along at 100 miles an hour, and that car felt like more like 300 miles an hour. Really, it was a thrill.
Well, respect. I've had the good fortune to drive a Bentley Blower on a number of occasions. And of course, he's known for single seat stuff, but it's great that he enjoyed driving a big monster like the Blower.
Absolutely. Oh, he knew real cars, and that was certainly one of them. Just, it really got the blood flowing. It was an incredible car. Well, Richard, what do you say? You think we should find a new home for these 5 cars?
Well, I think we should. And how generous the manufacturer have been to give these cars. How wonderful. I think we should thank them all.
Absolutely. So, Lexus, Genesis, Lincoln, Infiniti, and Mercedes-Benz are the generous manufacturers of the hour. And I hope some of our winners are here today to ride in their new car for the first time. But if our winner happens to be watching from home, we have the McPherson students with us to accept the prize on their behalf.
And we know that the McPherson students are not going to take the car and not bother to tell anybody, do we?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I trust them. I'm not sure about you.
Oh, okay. Well, if I get the chance, let's see how we go, hey?
All right. Well, let's meet the students. Here they are. Ladies and gentlemen,
welcome.
The McPherson Student Scholarship winners of 2022. This is a very special scholarship that really I'm so glad that has been set up. It is helping the whole preservation of the hobby of restoration and the profession, I should say, of restoration, because it is a craft that is possible. It could just sort of die away if we don't keep nourishing it and funding it.
If you ever thought you could sit between a TK sandwich, I'm in that hot seat right now. Tommy Kendall, of course, and Tom Christensen. You know, he gets mistaken for a 9-time Le Mans winner. Never. Welcome to the show, Tom Christensen, everybody. Great stuff.
Thank you.
You are an ambassador for the centenary of Le Mans.
Yeah, what a privilege, Justin. I mean, you and your family, yourself, you know what that means, and you know how much, grit, how much determination, passion goes into so many people for such a long time. Next year, 100 years since the very first race, so you know what it means. And I'm obviously privileged to be part of that celebration, which started actually yesterday morning, right here.
And it kicked off, TK, a whole year, or slightly less than a year, of celebrations leading up to Le Mans 24 Hours. It was quite remarkable that Pebble Beach, Sandra and Pierre were able to collaborate to make this happen, because I'm sure it wasn't the French's first thought. Right, let's go to America and do it. But it's so natural now you're here. Show the trophy, all these fans, and the history of all these Le Mans cars.
Yeah, and then again, in a way, you know, the season next year for the centenary really kicks off at Daytona. And we have the 12 hours of Sebring. We know how tough that is. And that means that on both sides of the ponds, LMDH, so the hypercars, there's a lot of manufacturers coming in, a lot of drivers aiming to get that special trophy. And in total, they might even be able to not only win that trophy, but they might also be able to get that from the line from Le Mans 66, Ford versus Ferrari. Well, Carl Shelby tells, who does he tell? Ken Miles, you can win the Triple Crown this year. Somebody might be able to win that next year. Sports car racing, looking back, what a heritage. But looking forward, whoa, what a bus.
You summed it up perfect, because it's looking back at 100 years, looking forward. I got emotional walking the line of cars there, but just coinciding with, you touched on the new cars, one of the most exciting eras in history we're about to embark on. All the manufacturers, for the first time in 40 years, that compete at Daytona and Le Mans for the overall.
Absolutely, and that's what's happening right now. The industry is buzzing. The boardroom members are telling, we want to get our hands on the trophy, and why not that trophy? Because it's unique. And in motorsport, you want something unique. If you can attend that to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, tell me.
I worked out. He's approximately won 10% of the Le Mans ever run. Just think about that. I mean, that you didn't start out to break records. You didn't start out. You just you wanted to be the best driver you could be. When you look back on it, which you can only do when you've stepped back from the seat, right? You can only reflect.
Yeah.
How would you describe to your grandkids Le Mans and what it meant to your life?
I think Le Mans in many ways is very healthy for you as being a driver. Endurance racing in general, sharing a car with other drivers. You have to be passionate, you have to be honest, and you have to be extremely, fast, consistent. But I mean, this mixture of having the honesty, working with the mechanics, working with the team, working with engineers, I have to say it makes you a better person. I would say there's a lot of this with the shoulders going forward. In karting, you go into the single-seater, you have to prove, you have to be in top 3 all the time, which is very important. But it's not necessarily healthy for the long term of being at the absolute pinnacle of trying to achieve the best all the time. When you're in endurance racing, with that play, with the mechanics and teamwork in the team, I think that's when you really start to step a little bit back and enjoy the racing for real. And I think that's why endurance racing will always be the last thing to go.
Really, and we are into this heyday. I think you're right. It's the next great big time for sports car racing we're about to witness worldwide. But as a car fan, you walk around, forget all the... What is it like? I mean...
This is fantastic. To walk here up on the fairway and looking for the bunkers and greens, it's tough. It's full of fantastic cars. And it's basically the whole life of motoring cars. Yeah. And then added to the people, to the way the people dress, the flavor, the color. And then you get to see them actually drive as well. I mean, it's wonderful. I wouldn't appreciate that as an 18-year-old kart racer, but now reflecting, looking back, oh, what a journey. It's absolutely fabulous.
I was thinking about it relative to you, because you're a legend, the winningest driver in Le Mans history. You've been celebrated since the day you stepped out of the cockpit. The cars are being celebrated here, and those cars represent hundreds and hundreds of people's obsessions. You like to see that reflected back on them in terms of their accomplishments being feted?
Yeah, I mean, you just see it, so proud and so happy they are, and everyone. It's only fitting 2, 4, sometimes 5 or 6 people in the cars, but behind it there's an enormous know-how of cars built before the war for many of the cars. That's incredible, and that is handed into the new generation. And they will conserve them and will go forward. I think the car industry, yes, it's always saying it's challenged. Yes, but what a heritage and what a plus going forward. I think the car industry, the engineers are always brilliant and the mechanics are hardworking, passionate people, and so are we.
Wow. Well, Tom, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much. The show is moving towards the final. This is a race. This is a competition. You know, make no mistake. These guys want to win. Right, Bruce Meyer wants to win. He has 2 cars. We've got David McNeil with the GTO. We've got, I mean, we picked all our top picks are actually on won their class. To cross this ramp is like winning 10 Le Mans for these guys. But you will never do that because you're old like us.
You don't know. I might.
This is the announcement of his return.
I might make a comeback, but I want to say is, TK, your match between the socks and tie, wonderful. You got the best tie.
I got the best tie. Though.
Yeah.
Thank
but
you.
Wrong socks.
Wrong.
See you later.
Let's head back to the block.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our generous partner Genesis for this incredible donation. And also, thank you, Natividad Foundation, for all you do, and we're so glad to support. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
Well done, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Another one here, Derek.
The next charity drawing car is this beautiful 2023 Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring, benefiting Salinas Valley Memorial Health Foundation, represented by President and CEO Pete Delgado, and United Way of Monterey County, represented by board member Ann Kern. Stunning car. Who is going to be our lucky winner today?
Welcome, welcome. Good to have you.
Well, we'd like to introduce a great family friend, Jochen Mass, a Le Mans winner, ex-Formula One driver, one of the strongest men ever to get behind the wheel of a sports car. But also, you are, I've got to make mention, the bottom left camera is what we call the boss cam, the best of show cam. It's happening right behind us, and it allows us to watch the judges putting their ballots in, Tommy. It's a very exciting moment. For best of show.
They've got their work cut out for them this year. Sometimes there's one that you can put your, but the field got blown wide open with some of the scratches, and there's some people chewing their fingernails trying to figure out what to do because they want to get it right. Also, each individual judge, and Sandra especially, wants to get it right, and that's the beauty of it. You have all these talented people that go out and throw their, and then the right car always wins by definition.
So you were a judge today, an honorary judge.
Yes, since many years.
It carries with it since many years. When you actually realize the investment in time, passion, money, focus, manpower of everybody that prepares their car for here, it's a special job. You actually can't just treat it lightly. The people have put their lives into this.
No, I mean, they are a very serious lot, obviously, and they do a fantastic job. And what we do, we just help to fill the thing in the short amount of time we have to look at all these fantastic number of cars. I mean, it's very impressive, and I must say, let's say most of the cars we all have seen at one event or the other, but there's always a certain percentage which is just new and is fabulous, represented. And I mean, some actually make you almost cry. That's how nice they are. And when you think of to me, when you think of the love and the care and the aesthetic pleasure people had to create something like that, wonderful. And when you, Graber, for an example, and all the Italian designers, it is, and Graber did a lot of cars. I didn't know that.
Different range, yeah.
Fantastic.
I didn't know that.
Beautiful.
Until they were coming across them. Like,
I'd never heard of it. Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievable.
I never saw them anyway.
Now, talk about walking the line of Le Mans cars. Yeah. I mean, many of which you raced against, but going all the way back to the early Bentley blowers and so forth. Was it nostalgia? I got goosebumps and emotional, really.
Yeah, it is a kind of a nostalgia, absolutely, because, I mean, we step back in time and we go back to an era which was creative, which was terribly bad. I mean, you had this incredible time. Beginning of the century was good until 1912, maybe, and so on. And then we had the First War, and then we had the disastrous economic crisis and inflation and da-da-da. But then we had this very, very beautiful 1930s, and we had the most fantastic cars, art, fashion, music, wonderful. And then, of course, it all dissolved itself into this terrible 6 years World War. But, and then it picked up again in the 50s. And when I look at these cars, you see all this time fly by, and you feel the emotions, what people must have had to create something like that. And that's very touching. To me, it's really, it's wonderful.
It really makes you appreciate the human spirit is positive, right? The minute the pressure comes off the neck,
luckily,
we make our creativity comes through. The cars we see, the design. I mean, as you say, the 1930s, it was like the flowers, like I said earlier, growing suddenly and then going away.
Exactly.
Le Mans, though, 100 years.
Yeah, that's right.
100 years anniversary. You were there for a lot, you know, the 80s, 90s, you were a big part of that. It is great to see this race being celebrated. One race, not a series, one race celebrated.
It is, to me in the beginning, I had some misgivings about the safety, about this and that on the track. And I felt that the organization was a little too stubborn or whatever. And they said, Jochen, this is too expensive, we cannot do this, and so on. But you have to because of, and so on. So I had some misgivings about that. But later, you know, especially now, of course, the last 20 years, I feel there is no bigger racing event. You have Indianapolis, of course, but 24 hours of Le Mans is extremely special. And so on. You think, the Frenchies again. The Frenchies, they have the fastest track, they have the longest race today with the world recognition, which is just unbelievable, and so on. So it's something very precious.
Well, if I look weird then that I was gesticulating, the one and only Bruce Meyer, actually after winning his class twice, came up because we didn't know he was going to win his class, and he said, do you still want me on the show? And I said, well, maybe we'll talk to you later. Back down there when I go down near the class winners. But isn't that a testament to the man that he made the journey up here? The other thing is you being reunited with these amazing drivers that have been a part of your life. Yeah, not ex-girlfriends.
No.
That's a bigger field. No, but seeing these drivers in this area of their life, I mean, that's wonderful. Henri Pescarola,
absolutely.
Jack, I mean, wow.
No, it is absolutely amazing that we can sit together and talk about it. We don't talk about the racing, but just we experience the similarity in sympathies and, you know, and whatever. We did it together, and that was nice. And we don't have to talk about it all the time. You know, actually, I personally never do, rarely ever. I mean, with your dad, it was fantastic. You know, all these years. And so on. So it's a pity that he's not here. He should be here. But he won after all with Jackie so many races. But you know, this is something which is very important that we keep this for ourselves, and because we can pass it on to our children, can we not? And so things like that. So that's nice, and that's very precious. So there we are.
Thank you. Jochen, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Justin.
It was great. Well, lovely seeing you. And the new trophy is amazing.
Thanks for making time for us, Jochen. Appreciate
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we've
Keep
been
up
watching.
the good job. That's nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
We've been watching the charity awards. So much money, as Tommy said, raised for charities, all staying here on the Monterey Bay Peninsula. I think that is a key thing, Tommy. We tend to think of nationwide charities. Sandra has really the philosophy. If the money's raised here, it should stay here. And we've seen some wonderful...
These particular raffles, 5 cars that are... Oh, there's the boss cam. We've got a flurry of activity at the Best of Show ballot box.
I like that.
Can we
can't
zoom?
see
Can
him
we
writing.
zoom in?
Can we zoom in? This is so exciting. We better not do that.
We might have to fuzz that out. But okay, so we're back. We see the Mercedes coming off the stage. 5 cars: Lexus, Genesis, Lincoln, Mercedes, and Infiniti, all donated cars, and they benefit the McPherson scholarships for the students that we saw up on stage. So 5 cars being given away, or multi-year lease and Pebble Beach experience in the case of Lexus. So good work being done while we have fun.
Well, as you can see on our boss cam, Best of Show cam, there is Sandra Butt. On her right side is Judith Ann Rabel, who is her right-hand woman. This process has been going on now for 71 years, of which Sandra has been at the helm for over 30. 38, and just to see them getting prepared for what is a very serious decision-making process, which is a great way for us to introduce another very important lady. Lynn St. James, thank you for coming on the show.
I love joining you guys whenever I can.
We like that. can you introduce a little better than I can? Because I just go, oh, Indy and
well, she's
Hall of Famer.
Automotive Hall of Famer, not just racing Hall of Famer. Until Jimmy Johnson eclipsed her, not just Rookie of the Year at Indy. I didn't realize you were 45 when you were a rookie at Indy. That
what were you
is
thinking of?
Amazing. Daytona, multiple-time class winner at Daytona, Sebring, and one of our favorites, Lynn St. James. How's
that? Just a friend. We're just friends.
But now we're just hanging out.
Yeah.
Listen, just pretend we're having a good time with no one watching. What a day.
Oh my God.
I mean, cars, people.
It's what it's about.
Yeah.
It's really what our life is about.
Racers.
I mean, I'm still about wanting to go fast in these cars. I mean, to me, it's not really good until I get to sit in it and go fast. But I'm learning. You know, we all know what we love, but then we also learn something new. And this is about learning the different discipline, the passion that these owners have. I still like to sit in them and feel them. You know, it's really fun.
Highlights for you today. Obviously, you get to walk the field. You get to see the cars.
I got to vote.
You got to vote?
For the best of show. I've never gotten to do that, but I was the lead for my honorary judge category. I'm like, oh my God, I'm the lead. I don't know I've never done that before. And then I got this little blue sticker that said I get to vote for best of show.
That's pressure, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
It is.
We picked out, there were some key cars scratched before the event, but we've gone 3 for 3 with our picks. All got through in their class wins.
Whoa.
So
doing quite well.
I'm not talking.
No,
I'm
you're
not
not
telling.
talking. You're
I'm
not
not
allowed
talking.
to. You're not allowed to. But we've actually been watching the boss cameras. The judges have been coming up. We're not allowed to zoom in, but we've been watching. It really is a intense moment, because we're used to our kind of competition. This is a competition.
Yes, it is. It is. But you know what I love about our competition? You know, it's the stopwatch, it's the checkered flag. You know, where this is a lot more subjective, and there is a passion. You know, but you can't let the emotion get involved. Yeah.
Well, do you like our seat? The cars come right behind us. These are the special awards, Tommy. Special awards have a special place here, and we're a little out of order to.
That was the Alec Ullman Trophy. Now we have the Ansel Adams Award winner coming up on stage. This was on the podium also in the antiques class.
And Tommy, normally we do these awards have been part of the class award presentations.
Yes.
So if you have watched this for years, you might be thinking to yourself, why are they happening now? Well, Sandra felt that it was more significant for each of the special awards to come up again
separately,
and be recognized
just
for that moment.
It also gives everybody time to assemble all of the best of show judging awards. Sorry, but you know,
that is exactly why it is happening. But it really does. I've asked kind of everybody this over the week, what do you look forward to most? And it's funny, people often come in with one thing. Oh, I just can't wait to see the Ferraris or the Le Mans cars. And when you get out there, you realize, I didn't know I loved that, you know, right?
Well, but I think because of our passion for endurance racing and sports cars, to have the celebration of Le Mans, I told the gentleman, you know, from the FIA, you know, thank you for helping bring the celebration of Le Mans to the United States instead of just having it over in France. So, you know, I mean, that was my passion. The first sports car race I ever saw was the 24 Hours of Daytona. So to be able to then race, you know, win at Daytona, go to Le Mans, but to see them, you know, bring it here. I mean, Tommy, you know, the politics in motorsports can, well, you know too, the politics can mess everything up. And so to be able to bring that celebration to the United States, to Laguna Seca, to the, you know, Pebble Beach Concours, that's big. I mean, politically, or
really big.
It is big.
As I said, talking the French into starting off a very French celebration in America, I think is a sign of how important this event is.
It is.
In the global calendar.
It is.
Lynn,
I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm going to read the tea leaves. I think Lynn voted for Bruce Meyer's 935 for Best in Show.
Ooh.
I'm not talking. I wanted to.
Oh, I like that. Lynn, thank you so much for joining us.
You're already kicking me
I'm
off.
already kicking you off because It's almost, we're
It's
running
almost
till the
time.
finish
It's
line.
almost
We're about
time.
30 minutes ahead of schedule.
Guess what? I've got another way of selling it to her. Lynn, you've won. You've won the Speed Award here. Thank you so much.
I love being with you guys.
All right,
I love
thank
it.
you so
Yeah,
much.
thank
Let's
you.
just listen in on some more of the special awards.
George Wingard of Eugene, Oregon. Wonderful to see you here today, George, and with your family and friends in attendance. I love it. The Chairman's Trophy is awarded to the most deserving car president as selected by the Chairman, and it's today presented by our very own Sandra Button. Congratulations, George. A very worthy winner. You always bring such fabulous cars to the concours, and it's wonderful to see you. This car is 14 liters. Imagine the size of those 4 cylinders. Incredible. Great to see you. Congratulations. We're moving now to the Charles Chain Award, or the Charles Chain Trophy, which today is awarded to the 1916 Owen Magnetic Model O 36 Roush & Lang Touring, owned by the Western Reserve Historical Society in Cleveland, Ohio. The Charles Chain Trophy is awarded to the car with the most advanced engineering of its era, and the trophy is named for a former General Motors Vice President of Engineering, who was really a great supporter of the Pebble Beach Concours. And it's sponsored by Bill and Cheryl Swanson, and we are very pleased to see this car here today, a very worthy winner. Congratulations to the Western Reserve Historical Society.
The only car ever made.
It's the only car ever made driven by magnetism. That is real magnetism, not animal magnetism. Now, the Classic Car Club of America trophy today is presented to the 1931 Duesenberg J. Durham convertible sedan, owned by the DuCoing family of Newport Beach, California. The Classic Car Club of America trophy is awarded to the most significant classic car present today. Quite a challenge. And it's sponsored by the Joseph Cantori family, presented today by Angela Cantori, and we're delighted to see you here. We saw it earlier, but this particular car, J475, was one of no fewer than 5 Model Js, originally delivered to a malted milk heiress, Mary Bell Horlick Sidley of Racine, Wisconsin. Must be where the name Horlick come from. I used to drink it as a child. Wonderful drink, but even better, it's a wonderful Duesenberg. Congratulations to the DuCoing family of Newport Beach, California. Our next special award goes to, it's the Dean Batchelor Trophy, and it goes to the 1932 Ford Lee Titus Roadster, owned by Ross and Beth Myers of Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Lovely to see it here again. The Dean Batchelor Trophy is awarded to the most significant hot rod present during these years that hot rods take to our show field. Batchelor was a noted auto writer and historian who served for many years as one of our honorary judges here at Pebble Beach. And it's sponsored by the Ford Motor Company. And today that trophy is presented by Hao Tai Tang, the Chief Industrial Platform Officer. Congratulations to Ross and Beth Myers. Our next award is the Elegance in Motion Award. And this car sums up both elegance and soon to be shown motion. I mean, it's pretty damn nice stationary, but it's always good to see a car in motion. This Elegance in Motion trophy this year is awarded to the 1938 Packard 16018 Graber Cabriolet, owned by Anne Brockington Lee, from the Robert M. Lee collection in Sparks, Nevada. The Elegance in Motion trophy is sponsored by the Gooding and Company. The Elegance in Motion trophy is awarded to the car deemed to be the most elegant in motion, funnily enough. To qualify for this award, a car must have successfully completed the Pebble Beach Tour d'Elegance, and I believe you did that. I did see you down in Big Sur. It's sponsored by Gooding and Company, and it's been beautifully presented by David Gooding, the president and co-founder of Gooding and Company. What a wonderful auction company. What a wonderful car. What a wonderful owner. Congratulations, and we'll see you soon. Very briefly, just another announcement to the representative from JSL Motorsports. Would they please return to their car, which is R111, the Jaguar. A representative for JSL Motorsports, please return to your Jaguar. You are needed for the award ceremony. Please return to your car. Also, to the representative from Fast 12, please return to your wonderful Mercedes-Benz W196. We also need that car for the award ceremony, so please return to your car. Now, we're going to return.
Well, how fitting it's an Enzo Ferrari trophy, Tommy, on a day when Enzo Ferrari, if he was looking down from above, would go, I did all right, I made some beautiful cars, and they are as competitive and as compelling now as they ever were as another one. I mean, just remarkable. And of course, I bet he wishes he'd raised the prices when they left the lot, because the margins they make now are pretty spectacular and well deserved. Let's remind ourselves what is going on behind us with Best of Show, with the competitors down there. I call it part fermé, but it's the class winners.
The winner's
part
circle.
fermé, the winner's circle. There are winners already today, Tommy. Let's re-emphasize that. Winners today.
All these are our winners.
Okay.
All these winners are down there.
Everybody here everybody to get on the lawn won the first race. It's like I say, if you enter the 24 Hours of Le Mans, you've done very well.
I think we have a chance for a real shock, not just a post-war. I'm not going a race car ever win Best of Show here. And I mean, if ever there was a year that you can see a 935 drive over here, I mean, I guess that it's elegant in its effectiveness.
Yeah.
You wouldn't argue that it's just beautiful. So it's going to be really interesting.
A bit more like
race car. Who knows?
A bit more like Thor's hammer than a violin, really. But very purposeful and interesting to see it. Interesting to see the mix. You've got all the winners there. But to get into the minds of what's going on down there, once you've passed that first class win and you're eligible for Best of Show, we are actually right down there in the distance. Oh, that's funny. Okay, that was probably what I could probably get that one in the show.
Well, this is a crazy the Didion trike of Rob Kaufman, and this car, this trike originally they were half a horsepower. This is the 2 3/4, 5 times the horsepower of the original one. He says it's absolutely terrifying to drive. There are no brakes and there's no clutch. There are brakes, but they're pointless. But hey, there's McKeel. Look at that.
There he is. He's our next guest, so after he's done that, he can come over. The boss cam. Let's have a quick look at things happening over there. I know that the judges have been they were called to action a minute ago. Martin Button, Sanders Hudson, Derek looking over her shoulder. It's all coming together. It's a bit like at the Vatican when they're waiting for the Pope to be announced. Grey smoke, white smoke. Here, the significance of winning Best of Show at Pebble Beach is not just lineage, provenance, it's financial. Your car is now worth exponentially more. And also, you've earned your place on the pantheon of cars around the world. You've earned your place at all the other shows. Very impressive.
And so to tell you a little bit how this is going to work, we've got about 15 more of these special awards. Then we have 4 Elegance Awards. Oftentimes, the Elegance Awards cars circle back around. We'll be looking for those clues. but they need to get all the votes in as soon as possible. The best of show is held up if they don't have a quorum, I guess you would say. But then there will be a triplicate of the winner, and one will go to Derek, one will go to pull the cars on the field, and Sandra will have one.
Really exciting.
Oh, that gorgeous Talbot Lago Grand Sport. Woo!
Well, do you know what I'm going to do? How many cars are left in of these awards, Tommy?
I think we've got about maybe 14 left.
14, that's an awful lot of beautiful
Fagoni
awards.
Fastback. And look at this. Anyone from my generation will recognize this as the concept car that led to. We talk about the concept longs making their way into production. This is what turned the Spertone vehicle is what turned into the X19 Fiat. So it's fitting that wins the Gran Turismo trophy.
Well, this seems like a great time to bring on McKeel Haggerty. We've just seen beauty and elegance, McKeel, and then we see a trike.
Wasn't that great, though?
Yeah, wasn't it? I'd love to, obviously, McKeel Haggerty, CEO of Haggerty, one of our sponsors of the show, and very much a part of bringing this broadcast to you at home. But McKeel, how did you draw the straw on that one?
Oh, I know, how fun. Well, you know, Evan, who manages that collection for the owner, Rob Kaufman, a great friend of ours, he rode that the entire way in the tour the other day, which is quite an intrepid effort.
I watched him start it on the stand because you got to crank it, but it's got all the manual timing and spark controls down here.
Oh yeah, and they're fast. I've been around those in the London to Brighton run, and I'm cruising along at 24 miles an hour, and they go ripping by. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So tell us how your day has been, because this seems to be Pebble Beach 100% full throttle back.
It's full throttle. The whole week in Monterey has been that way this week. Between, there are lots of other events here. Obviously, the Pebble Beach is the anchor event. It's the thing the reason we all come here. But between the auctions, everything else, it's been amazing. The show field is just remarkable. The quality of the cars, even just the number of judges that are back internationally from all the big car companies. I mean, every time I've been judging here for 20-something years, and every time I go in that room, it gives me chills to think of the people who are in there, because the car world's always been as much about people as it is about cars for me, as I think it is for us as well. And so it is full throttle, 100% full throttle. Well, you guys would say 10/10,
Well,
right?
10/10.
Yes, okay, sorry. Yeah,
Full throttle.
I'm not, I can't do what you do.
Well,
so.
if you had my accent as well as all your skills, it would be game over.
Oh yeah, it'd be amazing.
It would be just
amazing.
Wouldn't be fair. Wouldn't be fair.
World championship after world championship.
I've got to say that my skills are easier to acquire.
Okay, well, fair enough. I love you guys.
If you zoom out, what are your takeaways from your whole company's mission is preserving the car culture for future generations?
Yeah, well, probably the biggest question so many people have about all of it is, does the next generation even care?
Yeah.
Is this just a dusty old thing filled with, older folks who are kind of hanging on until the end? And I can tell you that maybe it doesn't look like it right from this spot, because you are in the best of the best here at Pebble Beach, but the generational shift has been happening. We've been seeing it all week. You see it with the energy around a lot of younger buyers out buying some new cars, sports cars, some of the crazy supercars that are out here this week. It's nuts.
It's nuts.
And I just like that. And for me, I think of that as on-ramps. Like, anytime somebody goes out and buys a new supercar, a new fun sports car, that's an on-ramp to this space. And maybe someday they'll have a D-Type.
I mean, not just a D-Type, a Le Mans winning D-Type from 1966.
Yes. Exactly. Which the greatest day of driving I've ever done in my life was in one of those.
Oh, wait, but where was that?
It was in New Mexico. Oh my gosh, just still gives me chills.
I know.
Yes.
Because that's it, isn't it? If we can get people to experience driving.
Yes.
They are rivers, they're estuaries that lead you to the main river.
Yes.
Because you can't have passion for something unless you're exposed to it.
That's exactly right.
You can't go, and we can't subject the new generation to the way we learn. A 5-speed VW Golf, right? Which I wrecked. But they're never going to do that, as much. How do we connect them then to understand the significance of an event like this, as well as Cars and Coffee. I mean,
Right.
how do we do, or a video game? How do we do it?
You know, look, you take Cars and Coffee. The cool thing about those events, they actually haven't existed for very long,
No.
but the idea is you bring whatever you have, you know, very little kind of hierarchy. As you kind of move through the car world, you recognize that, well, there is a kind of hierarchy to them, right? You know, say you're in a Porsche, there's a difference between a GT3 Touring and a GT3 RS. They're just, you know, one is a track car meant to go faster. So that hierarchy exists. That's all this is. It's just going back to the best of the best forever. And the owners honor them by preserving them, by restoring them, by bringing them here. And, you know, for us, you got to expose the next generation to this stuff. These are not impossible to own. Anybody here watching this live stream could own one of these someday. You just have to want to.
We also have to listen because they're interested in things, and if we don't necessarily get it, we miss that. You look at seeing the founder of Gran Turismo here, he's tapped right into the vein. I drove a Nissan GTR for a year, and I felt like Jay-Z driving around that thing. I mean, everyone's giving me thumbs up and high fives and so forth. So I think you got to listen to what they're interested. They're into Nürburgring record times. They're into hypercars.
Absolutely.
NSX.
Yes. Well, I met a young man here today, Henry, who's actually finished GT7. He's actually finished the game. And we have this Haggerty Legends garage in Gran Turismo, and he wanted to meet me. He came here, I'm like, you're kidding me, you want to meet me? And he said, no, he's like 8 years old, and this is all he's passionate about is learning through this gaming platform. And I just say, hooray to Henry.
I mean, it really should be.
Yes.
What class did you judge?
So I'm an honorary judge. I don't know if that's getting kicked upstairs or downstairs, whatever it is, but I judge most elegant convertibles today, which there are only about 180 elegant convertibles out here, so it was really easy. And we did have a tough time, sort of.
I was going to say it
figuring
is
out.
tough.
Oh,
This
it's
year
tough.
was very tough.
The cars are
It's always
amazing.
tough, but this year seems to be everybody's really here with their A game, and the owners I've noticed you always notice it. It takes them back to their original moment when they started loving cars.
Yes.
Same with you.
Yes.
You may have created this empire, but if you had a car out there, that's all gone in the moment that you get judged.
Yes. Oh my God. Well, yeah.
But
No, trust me, you
can
judge
be
people
there.
and people's hands are shaking.
You can see it, right?
Oh, yes.
These are people that
And
would
do the lights work on the car, sir? Yeah. You know, and you just see them go blank. It's hilarious.
Like, no.
Well, and the fact that it has to start. You know, they've had their people on it forever, and it started every time until now.
Well, I'll tell you what, I just had a great conversation. So, you know, what's going on right now is in the winner's circle, the best, best of shows being selected by chief judges. I got to put my ballot in, and I'm not telling you.
Oop.
But I walked up to a gentleman who has two very good cars potentially around this space. And I asked him, how was your week? And he said, you know what? Yesterday I got up early, and I just ripped that car down the coast. And he said, it's Highway 1. I've got this amazing car. I'm not going to let it sit in the trailer. I was
Just
like,
do it.
Oh, and you should
That's
see
how
the
you
front
do
one.
it.
I felt like I had to hug him because the light
That
in
was
his
it.
eyes. He said, no, this car probably spent most of its life driving around the Mediterranean. That's the Pacific Ocean right there. I'm going. It was awesome.
I'm going to jump in now. You want to know what it's like when you've won Pebble Beach Best of Show? You want to know what you do with the car? You want to know how you feel? Check this out.
The car is a 1937 Alfa Romeo 2.9 body by Touring Berlinetta. It's the first Berlinetta. It's the prototype long chassis 2.9. It is a beautiful piece of sculpture combined with a Grand Prix chassis, twin cam, twin superchargers. This 2.9 Berlinetta is the most architectural piece of sculpture in the automotive world. I'm David Sidoric, and I won Best of Show at Pebble Beach in 2018.
Best of Show winner is the 1937 Alfa Romeo 8C 2900B.
Winning Pebble Beach is not an easy club to join. Everything has to be just right that day. I felt an enormous amount of pressure on show day. The stress is unbelievable, and you hope that they think you have the best car in the field. And it's not until you're at the top of the ramp and turn that car off and they're handing you the prize, then you know you've won. And it was the thrill of a lifetime. So the question today is, what happens to a best of show winner at Pebble Beach after you win it? You have to be thoughtful with a best of show winner at Pebble Beach. You have to think about exclusivity. You have to think about overexposure. You want it to be at the right place with the right people in the right location. It was only shown at Pebble Beach in America. After Pebble, we went to Villa d'Este first, and the car won Best of Show trophy. From Villa d'Este, we became eligible automatically for the best of the best, which is in Paris at the Peninsula Hotel, which we won. So winning those three has been referred to as winning the Triple Crown in the car world. The car is beautiful, it's known, it's historic, it wins all the time. It's the Tom Brady of cars. So for me, with a car like this, you don't want to show it just everywhere. It needs to be elegant and beautiful and special and memorable. And that's what this car is, and that's the environment it needs to be in.
Well, Tommy, Elegance Awards, well, some awards are meant to name exactly what we're seeing, and we've seen a couple of beautiful cars come past. I've got to say, just David Sidoric there with his gorgeous Alfa was the perfect host to us when we filmed that. But he knows how it feels to be here. There is something special about the Elegance Awards, ladies and gentlemen, and that is, it is not uncommon for one of the winners of an Elegance Award to circle back around and take their place in the final four, which is where the best of show contenders will be waiting. Tommy, this is a wild card, I think, isn't it?
It was, but it did not win its class, so it will not be circling back around. So it was second in its class. And the first one did not win its class either. So we will, so far, neither of these cars should be circling around. Obviously, we had a number of our picks go through, but there's 27, is it 27 classes?
Yeah, totally.
So 27 eligible cars. The reason I busted Lynn on her pick is you said, what did you think? And she immediately went into, I think it's so great that Le Mans. I'm like,
Yeah, I know, we never know. At this point, I'm going to do a little bit of just imagining that I am a very wealthy man who has a car that just won his class at Pebble Beach, man or woman, obviously Kim with her car over there. You have this ability, this moment in time right now where you're very nervous about what is coming up. Everything is on the table. Quite literally, your world could change. It's like winning an Oscar or an Emmy. It's right in this moment. And they're all gathered. I don't know if you can see over my shoulder over there where the blue flags are. That is where the cars just to the side of the ramp. That is where they're all waiting. I call it the Parc Fermé, but definitely it is probably the greatest concentration of passion, wealth, hardware in one place, but they all want the top spot.
I mean, hopefully all of them are really, really satisfied and proud with winning their class at Pebble Beach. But if you got one of 25 lottery tickets, you're hoping you get all the way through.
Well, there's someone that's very happy.
You know what that is? That is a Jag XK120 with a Ghia body on it.
Wow.
Supersonic body.
Looks like a 300 SL down the side, Gullwing. I bumped into Roberto Quiroz last year, who was actually in the Final Four with his beautiful white Tre Posti, if you remember that car, one of two ever built. He sat in this chair here, very happy to have won his class. I saw him at dinner the other night, and I said, well, how are you, Roberto? And he went, oh, you know, so-so. Oh, his business, life, the kids. He went, no, because I didn't win last year. That is 12 months. It's stuck in his claw while he's been waiting. I think some of that is going on now.
So now,
That has to go around. I wonder. Let's watch.
Well, here's my pick. Looks like lined up next. So that is the Talbot T150 Figoni and Fallaci.
Oh. Let's just follow it. I think we should just watch this for a minute because they're saying it better than we can. These awards are so significant. Let's take a look.
The most elegant open car is awarded to the most elegant open car. An open car that has no side windows, although it may have side
curtains as comparable to a convertible, which generally has roll-up windows. What an extraordinary description. Wonderful car. Congratulations to Lee Anderson, and thank you so much for bringing this great car to us today. I see no more cars. That concludes our class awards, our special awards, and we're going to have a pause while we approach the moment.
Proof in the pudding, when they reached the bottom of the field there.
Won their class, one most elegant open car. There's only one thing left for the Triple Crown for that owner.
Wow, let's see. As always, a rather anticipatory hush comes over the field here. Everybody in the hospitality, they've been wining and dining and sharing amazing memories, new memories with their friends, and sometimes new friends. But this really is about a shared passion. People from all walks of life turn up to the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. Yes, you could say it is an elite playground, but actually it's a place where everybody from every walk of life can gather in celebration of the automobile. We are at this point right now that 4 nominees will be gathering up to, it's weird to say it's a start line, but it's a start line for the rest of the life for these vehicles, Tommy. It's a very special moment.
Well, and as this is all unfolding, I look down to my left here, and here is the widow of the 1958 Best in Show winner, Miss Alma Hill, mother of Derek, with Derek's 2 kids, and they have just positioned themselves head on to the ramp. Head on to the ramp
Here
so
we
they
go.
can see.
There is the Duesenberg.
Oh, wow. The two cars that just got Elegance Awards, the Talbot 150 Teardrop and the Duesenberg have both, so those are 2 picks. Those are both pre-war. So let me go through my cards here so I can.
I think Lynn was right. Racing is easier than this. You start a race, you either crash or you go on to place and win. This is probably winding people up in a way that we've never seen before. Beautiful cars, all waiting. Who else would join them? Right now, over in the class winners area, the holding area, we will be seeing them being selected.
What was the third one?
Asked to draw forward to the line. Look at the crowd, look at the people. The weather has been remarkable today. I'm sure we still got a tan, I don't know how, but it was cool and cold and very wet this morning. And the sight of these titans of industry almost draping themselves across their car to protect the paint was mildly funny, to say the least. But now the cars are absolutely beautiful. Tommy, this is like a race within a race because I'm nervous for them.
Well, it's funny because my nerves evaporated the minute we started rolling because it was then in my hands. It's these folks, it's totally out of their hands.
Yeah, totally
so their stomachs have to be just doing backflips. The Teardrop car is owned by Fritz Burkhardt from Switzerland. And then Lee Anderson, Sr. out of Naples, Florida, is the owner of that Duesenberg J. Figoni Sports Torpedo. And we're waiting to see if there's going to be, is it going to be, sometimes it's 2 cars, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4. The fact that they're pulled over to the right there tells me that there's at least 1, maybe 2 more cars coming. Are they post-war or are they pre-war?
Let's take a little look back.
Is it a Le Mans car? What is it?
Does the boss cam show any activity on Sandra Button's table? It'll be very interesting to know because the judging is over.
Yes.
But the collation of the judging and the final results.
Well, they can't pull cars around until they have them.
Well, here we have it.
Okay, and that is that Graber-bodied car. That's Sam Mann, I think. What car is that? That is the Sam Mann. That is the Duesenberg Model J Graber Cabriolet. So let's make it 3 pre-war cars.
What is going to be the 4th now?
Okay, and
GTOs abreast. Oh.
Sam and Emily Mann have won multiple Best of Shows. I should know that if Fritz Burkhardt has or not.
No winner.
And Lee Anderson. Is there a 4th car? Well, I mean, should I give you a little bit of a refresher on what these cars are? On the left of your screen is the 1932 Duesenberg Fagoni Sports Torpedo.
Oh, yes,
It's a J65 chassis. It was shipped without coachwork to European distributor Izay Sadovic's Motor Deluxe in Paris, and then famed coach builder Joseph Fagoni fitted it with this unique sports torpedo, complete with a hood extended back to a low V windshield. Tapered tail, Sadovich drove the car in the 32 Paris-Nice Rally before giving it to its first owner, which was a Peruvian sugar heir and prolific Duesenberg customer, Antonio Chopatea. Then it moved stateside.
Tommy. Oh, there you have.
The 4th car, that is the Ferrari GTO is not there. That is Peter and Merle Norman's Talbot Grand. That is a post-war car, though. So, wow.
I would like to have said I thought I might have picked the winner. I don't think I did. Wow. That is remarkable. Tommy, it just shows the strength of that pre-war, the might, the elegance, the power. It is compelling to the judges here. It really is. But I thought this might have been a year. I mean, we still don't know. There's 4 cars lined up, but right now, if this was backgammon, I wouldn't know whether to double down.
That Graber Duesenberg was my second pick after walking the field.
All right.
Two Talbots and 2 Duesenbergs.
Should we build that out now? Boys. Oh. TK.
Now, what I can't tell is, okay, they staged them, they pre-staged them, now they're staging them. Oh, that was cruel. That was cruel. So look at this. You've got Duesenberg, Talbot, Duesenberg, Talbot. Graber body Duesenberg, Sam and Emily Mann.
And the final contender for the crown here at Pebble Beach, Concours d'Elegance 2022. I bet their stomachs are churning right now.
Undoubtedly. Hopefully Peter Mullen is watching. He's at his home in Big Sur, just down the way. Hopefully he's watching this live stream.
I love it. It seems that the color was a theme too, right?
Yeah.
It's every shade of blue you can imagine there. The crowds around, you can see. This is the big moment. In a minute, Derek Hill will walk out, and we're going to defer to him.
The time is finally here. The Best of Show winner has been chosen, and the nominees are anxiously awaiting the final announcement at the end of the ramp. Before I reveal the nominees, we want to thank everyone for coming and for your cooperation in staying clear of the ramp throughout the trophy presentation. After we take the official photographs, we will allow media crews to photograph and interview our 2022 winner. All right, are we ready? Here comes our chairman, Sandra Button, with the envelope. Ladies and gentlemen, the nominees for the 2022 Best of Show Concours d'Elegance winning award is the 1937 Talbot Lago Figoni Falaschi Teardrop Coupe, owned by Fritz Burkhardt from Switzerland. The 1932 Duesenberg J. Figoni Sports Torpedo, owned by Lee R. Anderson Sr. from Naples, Florida. The 1930 Duesenberg Model J Graber Cabriolet, owned by Sam and Emily Mann from New Jersey. And the 1951 Talbot Lago T26 Grand Sport, owned by Merle and Peter Mullen from Los Angeles, California. Congratulations to each of our nominees, and it's an honor to be amongst the highest scoring cars at the Pebble Beach Concours. But there can only be one Best of Show winner. Sandra, may I have the envelope, please? The 2022 Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance Best of Show winner is the 1932 Duesenberg J Figoni Sports Torpedo, owned by Lee R. Anderson Sr. from Naples, Florida. Congratulations. Presenting the Best of Show trophy and ribbon is David Stivers, CEO of the Pebble Beach Company, and Sandra Button, Chairman of the Pebble Beach Concours. Congratulations again, Lee R. Anderson Sr. Wow, congratulations again. Oh, we have somebody climbing out of a rumble seat. We don't have rumble seats anymore, I guess for a reason, but they do look beautiful. What an absolutely stunning car. Oh, here comes the champagne. Okay, and to commemorate this special day, we have a few gifts for the winner. Presenting a steel and yellow gold Rolex Datejust 41 is Luca Bernasconi, President and CEO of Rolex Watch USA. Rolex has been a partner of Pebble Beach since 1997 and is proud to be the official timepiece of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. Presenting the gift certificate for a photograph of your best of show car, which will be mounted in a custom leather portfolio, is Michael Furman of Coach Built Press. Okay, and presenting a bottle of Soul of a Lion is Georges Dow, founder of Dow Vineyards. And finally, presenting a celebratory bottle of Dom Perignon is Julia Fitzroy, Business Development Director of Dom Perignon. What would Best of Show be without the champagne? These gifts will surely be cherished. Thank you to all our sponsors. I think it's time we all grab a glass of champagne ourselves. And here comes Julia from Dom Perignon. Okay, well, these gifts will surely be cherished. And now, let's toast to the winner of the 2022 Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. And thank you, everyone, for spending the 71st Pebble Beach Concours with us. And congratulations to all of our 2022 award winners. You can watch the show again at pebble.haggerty.com. And mark your calendars now. The next Pebble Beach Concours will be held right here on August 20th, 2023. Drive safe, everyone, and see you next year.
Well, they say, I said the right car always wins because so much effort goes into the judging classes, so much effort goes into selecting the best in show amongst those class winners. This one stood out early. It'd be impossible to pick between those four cars, but the thing that drew me in was the story of the owner, Lee Anderson. This car had a Fagoni body put on back in the day. When it came to the States, an owner separated the body and the chassis. Lee Anderson had a multi-decade quest to reunite the original chassis and the original coachwork, which he finally did, brought it here. I don't know if that's what made the difference in their eyes, but when I saw that car, that really drew me in. And it's another win, first win for Lee Anderson, but it is the seventh win for Duesenberg, best in show win here at Pebble Beach. They're closing in on Bugatti and Mercedes with 9 each. Justin Bell is with our new elated winners right now. Justin?
How do you feel, first of all? I mean, the look on your faces when you won the class was one thing, but now I'm going to ask you first, Mrs. Anderson.
My goodness, we're overwhelmed. It's such a joy. We just can't believe we won Best of Show. Honest to goodness.
Well, we've been doing this for years, and we've come close in the past, but we've never won, actually. So, I mean, Penny's right. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's just the thrill of it is so exciting.
I always like to try and imagine, like everyone at home is right now, that it's our dream, right? We could have a fantasy of coming here for all your business success, everything you've done in this moment. Is it just like being a little boy again?
Yes, it sure is. You just can't believe it. All the preparation, the story behind this car is just amazing. There's only one Fagoni Duesenberg ever, and it's this one right here. And so it's like all these things coming together to make a real champion. We're so excited.
Final thoughts on Pebble Beach 22.
Amazing, everything has been, the people, everything. We've met so many through the years. We enjoyed all the people that participate. It's just a joy and an honor to be here.
Well, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us at the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance in 2022. A huge thanks to Sandra Button and her incredible team for once again raising the bar. But thank you to you, everybody around the world, for actually allowing this event to have the prominence that it does. We are back. Pebble Beach is back. Thank you to all my colleagues and everybody, Tommy Kendall, especially on the talk show, and everybody behind the scenes, but especially to WeatherTech for supporting this broadcast and for Haggerty Media for allowing it to go out around the world. We will see you next year. I don't know how they top it, but they always do. Take care, everyone. They always do.
Thank you.